atmosphere, and dry air can definitely play a part in helping to weaken storms. Now, we are in continuing coverage because we're helping out our friends at WMBB in Panama City and WDHN in Dothan, Alabama. They have lost their ability to broadcast, so at the very least, we at WFLA in Tampa are helping to help them get information out of where the storm's currently located. We know we don't know specifically everything that's going on down there, but we also have, and we're going to continue to update you on some of the news reports, and we're going to bring in a couple of our news folks, JB and Melissa Marino, and we're going to update you on some of the things that have been happening there on the ground. We've seen some incredible damage video as well as, of course, storm video. I want to thank WFLA's Ian Oliver for handling the bulk of this weather coverage here for the last, 5 hours or so, and trying to help folks in southern parts of Georgia and southern Alabama. Right now we're going to go to JB and Melissa, and over to you guys.
Thank you, Steve. Well, as he said, I'm Melissa Marino here with JB. We are in right now for our sister station, WMBB. They have lost power, so we are on the air right now, and we will continue to bring you coverage of this devastating storm to make sure that you are safe.
Yeah, and that includes to our audiences also in Dothan, Alabama, southeastern Alabama, broadcasting to all of you tonight as well. We are, of course, sending prayers, hope that everybody out there is doing okay. We obviously know we're dealing with a historic amount of damage there on the Florida Panhandle into southeastern Alabama. And now, with the storm heading into Georgia too, we have a lot to talk about here. We're going to be with you over the course of the coming hours to make sure that you are informed and that you can stay safe with your family and friends.
Yeah, so Hurricane Michael made landfall with 155-mile-per-hour winds, just devastating.
Yeah, the strongest storm on record to ever hit the Panhandle. For the very latest now, we're going to go over to Natasha Chen.
Jaw-dropping images of destruction follow Hurricane Michael's landfall on the Florida Panhandle. Some wind gusts reached 155 miles per hour.
Hurricane Michael is the worst storm that the Florida Panhandle has ever seen. We're turning 100% of our focus on search and rescue and recovery.
Officials warned of a storm surge that could reach 14 feet in some areas.
The thing that people, I think, don't realize is the storm surge, whether it's 6 feet or 14 feet, it's all deadly.
One resident of Mexico Beach, Florida, where the storm's eye wall made landfall, said she didn't think it would be this bad.
Devastation. This is total devastation. I mean, my brother also has a house on the beach that's gone. I mean, there's nothing left of it.
Hundreds of thousands of customers are without power. Officials say it may not be restored for days, possibly weeks. President Trump received a briefing on the storm by FEMA.
I had a long talk with Rick Scott, Governor Scott of Florida. Very well coordinated with all of the states.
Millions of people across 6 states are under hurricane warnings and watches as the storm is expected to blow over Georgia and the Carolinas in the next few days.
So again, officials warning of a storm surge that could reach 14 feet in some areas. That will be just devastating.
And for those of our viewers who are here in the Tampa Bay area, we are here with WFLA and News Channel 8, and we've been showing you just some of the dramatic video over the course of the afternoon and into this evening of that historic storm surge. And we're seeing, I mean, just water now up to rooftops or even beyond rooftops in some areas, really just painting a grim picture of what rebuilding is going to be like in the years to come for the Florida Panhandle. Really just devastating.
Yeah, and so we are getting some numbers. Hundreds of thousands of customers are without power. Officials say that it might not be restored for days, possibly weeks. Millions of people across 6 states are under hurricane warnings right now, and the images of, again, just devastating. And they say when those storm surges hit, the only way you can get out is to go vertically, basically. So
yeah, and Governor Rick Scott saying in the last couple of hours, alerting to everybody, not just on the Florida Panhandle, but to elsewhere, just that all the rescue crews are going to try to get to as many places tonight as possible, to those people in need of rescue, to the people who stayed behind. And we're just learning that some rescues are underway tonight, hopefully to get some people in the most dire of situations out there and to safety.
Yeah, so Hurricane Michael obviously left a path of devastation across the Panhandle. We are going to go now to a story from Brian Todd.
Tonight, Hurricane Michael is ravaging the Florida Panhandle.
Hurricane Michael is upon us, and now is the time to seek refuge.
Heavy rain and sustained winds pulling homes apart, flooding rivers. ripping railings from the ground, collapsing beachside homes, leaving a wake of destruction in its path. The Category 4 storm picked up intensity in the Gulf as it barreled inland, making landfall with winds of up to 155 miles per hour.
Oh my God, it's starting.
The eye made landfall around 12:30. The storm's biggest threat is the devastating flooding it brings, with expected surges as high as 13 or 14 feet. The streets of Apalachicola already dangerously underwater. The northwest coastal town hit with a 6-foot surge even before Michael made landfall. Responders unable to reach those in need as waves crashed down along and on top of major highways.
There is going to be a killer storm surge in this event. 9, 10, 11 feet, no one's going to survive that. Low-lying areas, the Gulf of Mexico is kind of like a basin of water, all being pushed up on people. And if you're still there when that comes in, you're going to die.
Florida officials hammering home the message. The storm surge alone can kill you, but it is now too late to evacuate.
The time to evacuate in coastal areas has come and gone. The worst thing you can do now is leave and put yourself and your family in danger.
So again, we are here for our sister stations who are off the air right now. We are following live on Facebook, so we'd love to hear from viewers. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Of course, make sure you are safe before you report anything to us.
Yeah, and we have, Melissa, we have up both streams from DHN, from WDHN in Dothan. We have WMBB up from Panama City. We're not on the ground there, so we don't know the devastation that you're dealing with, but with all the images that we're seeing here, from hearing from so many public officials, from hearing so many sound bites from residents on the ground who say that their homes are underwater, we might not be there physically, but we are just trying to be there for you tonight so that you guys have just some information there for you, at least here on Facebook, because we know that WMBB in particular, your station in Panama City Beach, they are rushing right now, engineers working around the clock trying to get that on-air signal back up and running so that they can continue getting you information and serving the community there.
So Stephanie Cassidy on Facebook said, we know of any losses of life? We do. So we can report that one man, a Florida Panhandle man, was killed by a falling tree as Hurricane Michael tore through the state. So we can report one death so far in the Panhandle. And we have another comment. Peggy Miller said, I want to go home and check on family that did not leave. I can just imagine how tough this is for families that have stayed not knowing what is going on. So certainly our thoughts are with them right now. Keisha said they evacuated here to Tampa from there. Her husband is in law enforcement and still there. So of course we are going to keep following the comments on Facebook. Let us know what you're seeing. Let us know your stories. We'd love to share them.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part is when you have storms like this of historic proportions, that the death toll just continues to rise. You hope that that number doesn't go up, but it does. We might be at number 1 right now, but as the storm waters begin to recede and as emergency officials are able to get to those areas that are most affected by this storm, we're going to start to get more of an idea as to how many people were hurt, how many homes were destroyed, how many buildings were lost, and how many lives were lost. And we're just hoping that as many people as possible were able to get out there, get out safely. And you know, we've been, you know, one of the things too, Melissa, is that we've been seeing a lot of videos actually been coming in from cameras that people have mounted on their homes, you know, like Wi-Fi security systems, people who have fled the area and have been sending us just unbelievable video, just showing just some of the destruction there from Hurricane Michael. And just reading here just some of the notes that we have here from our producers: broken trees, uprooted trees. We had some video earlier on WFLA of some uprooted trees, power lines down nearly everywhere, and transportation becoming a major problem because a lot of roads are impassable now.
Well, when we saw another video, an entire house was in pieces from the hurricane. So it's just, the images are incredible, they're sad, they're devastating, and again, one person has been killed because a tree fell on them. So we are now hearing that a Jacksonville TV crew, they are reporting from Panama City just the strength of the winds from Hurricane Michael.
I think actually we're going to get to the Jacksonville TV crew in just a second. What we do have queued up for you, not to cut you off there, Melissa, but an incredible look inside the hurricane as it struck. Let's go over to that clip now. specific.
So again, these images just, wow, look at that. Roofs flying off. You can see the winds just devastating. They said when it hit 155-mile-per-hour winds, very strong Cat 4 when it made landfall.
Yeah, and we see that a lot of the Facebook comments are asking about specific neighborhoods and specific counties of both Alabama, Florida, into Georgia. As much as we would love to, answer those questions for you, it's just a little bit difficult right now. We're talking about a storm that was that devastating to this particular area of the country. So at least as of right now, we don't have the ability to give you information on particular neighborhoods. We will try to give you a broad idea as to what's going on in your respective area, but neighborhoods specific, to everybody in the Facebook comments asking about their particular, in the area of the street that they might have a home on, we can't really get that detailed information.
And some people are asking if they can go back yet to check on family members, to check on their homes. Now is not the time. The storm is still hitting. Many roads are going to be impassable, flooded streets, trees down, power lines. Right now is the most dangerous time to even think about going home, unfortunately.
Especially at night.
Yep.
Ask anyone who has been through a major hurricane. Nightfall is usually the most dangerous. You cannot see what's going on, and that's not to mention that you can't even get to many areas. I can't even begin to tell you how many reports that we have seen come in about roads being completely impassable. Not just street lights out, street lights down on the concrete, laying across the roadway where you physically can't get over even in a pickup truck. So
right. And you have to worry about the standing water. Power lines could be down in the water, and you can't see that. You could drive right into it. So stay in your house. Let first responders deal with what they have to deal with, stay off the roads, and let them do what they need to do, rescue people and everything like that. Now is definitely the worst time to go out and venture out at all. And I understand you're worried about your homes, you're worried about your family, your friends, but right now is definitely not the time. You don't want to be somebody that they have to come rescue.
So the best advice that we can give is that you stay with family, stay with friends, whatever safe spot you're in. And if you are in one of those areas where you are surrounded by water right now, just do your very best to stay in contact with your loved ones, with family and friends, and sit tight. Use the supplies, resources that you have at your disposal. And emergency response teams have begun conducting rescues. It's very, very early on in that process, but rescues have begun this evening. They will continue throughout the night. They'll continue for days until everybody, of course, is out of the disaster zone.
Well, and if you're concerned, call sooner than later. And they say if the floodwaters start to rise, you need to get to a second floor. The only way to rescue yourself, because you can't drive through the water, you can't even get out your door sometimes through the floodwater. The best thing to do is get to a second floor. If it gets to this point, you need to get to a roof, but call for help before it gets to that point. If you see the waters are starting to get high now and you're concerned, call for help now, because better to be rescued now than when it gets too dangerous.
Yeah, and you mentioned getting to a second floor, and this video here behind me, which we're about to show you, there was a Jacksonville TV crew that actually was on a parking garage, and the safest spot for them was to actually get to, I think, a second or third level of that parking garage. But they were still rolling. They were still able to feed some live footage out of there, and this was in Panama City, and we're going to go to Vic Michelucci of WJXT. He was there I think as the eye wall was either approaching or right as it actually hit Panama City Beach. So take a look here from Vic Michelucci from inside a parking garage.
We are in Panama City Beach. We are in a parking garage. We are on the third floor, and you have thick concrete in this stairwell. About 400 yards this way is the Gulf of Mexico. In between the Gulf and us is a 30-story condo building. Even an hour ago, some of the doors in that condo building were being blown open. The fence gone. We saw some roofs come down. We saw, obviously, signs come down. There's no power here. We're running off a generator. And look at this. This is nature's fury, probably like Floridians have never seen before. We were talking with law enforcement last night, even today a couple hours ago, and they're asking us what to expect. We're asking them what to expect, because no one has seen this in this part of Florida. The eye wall coming through right now, making landfall in Mexico Beach. That's about 45 minutes from where we are. We're told the winds are 155 miles an hour. 157 miles an hour is what would make it the most powerful category storm, a category 5. So right now you are looking at the strongest, most powerful category 4 hurricane to exist. And this is one for the history books. This is going to be a record breaker. And unfortunately, we are so very concerned for those in the path.
So as of about 6:55 p.m., Florida Governor Rick Scott, he had a news conference this evening. He urged people stay off the roads, leave the roads open to first responders as they are just now starting to go out and perform rescues. So again, stay off the roads. We have seen a number of comments from folks saying, can we go home to see what our home's like? Can we go home to see relatives? The answer is no. The governor is urging people, do not go home, stay off the roads, leave them open. Not to mention, as JB mentioned, they're dangerous. It's getting dark. You could have water, you could have power lines down. You just don't know, and you don't want to risk it.
Yeah, and Alyssa asking on the WMBB Facebook page, we are monitoring the comments here, everybody, as best as we can, because we are streaming to multiple Facebook pages, but she asks, are they rescuing people now? Based on reports that we have heard, that there are first responders on the ground there on the Florida Panhandle, and rescues have begun. We're going to start to see some of that video emerge, of course, over the course of the night as we get an idea as to how many people really were stranded by this storm. We did see that there were a lot of people, there were a lot of people that did not leave the area. One of the reasons being, and we've talked about this a lot here on air at News Channel 8 today, was that this was such a rapid developing storm. This was not something that we saw trek across the Atlantic and we knew was going to be a pretty serious threat to the southeastern United States. What ended up happening was this kind of hooked down south, even beneath Florida, and then made its way up north, where it really picked up steam in the Gulf of Mexico and really hit people by surprise.
Within days.
Within days.
And I know we went to sleep last night thinking it was like a weak Category 3 storm. We wake up and it's a Category 4.
Borderline Category 5. Exactly. It was almost a Category 5.
In fact, I talked to the hurricane hunters, and they said they didn't start actually surveying and flying into the storm until Monday. It's just now Wednesday, so they only flew a couple missions to survey the storm, get weather data, just because that's how quick the storm developed. And not only developed, they said while they were out today flying on their last flight, it was intensifying before their eyes. So it's just incredible.
You hate to call it a surprise hurricane because our forecasters, our meteorologists do such a great job in alerting us days beforehand, but usually we have a week, 2 weeks in advance to know when a storm is going to be a threat to maybe an area. We see the advanced forecast models, those cones, those spaghetti models that you see start to develop, but in this case it wasn't 10, 11 days, it was actually more like 10, 11 hours, closer to that. So
just shows the power of the tropics.
It really does. It really does. Even late into October, hurricane season, of course, going into the end of November, and we don't see that many super powerful storms usually that late into hurricane season, but this is one of the biggest on record, coming in the middle of October.
This is going to definitely be record-breaking, and record-breaking storm surge they're expecting as well. This is one of the biggest concerns for this storm.
Yeah, and you might not fully understand why storm surge is so dangerous, but if you live on if you're in a coastal community, you know that storm surge is perhaps the #1 threat when it comes to major hurricanes. So we're going to go over now. Gary Tuckman has a report for us talking about storm surge.
We actually moved to a new city not far from Coffeyville, Panacea, and I'm going to tell you why storm surge kills and why it could still kill tonight. This road, and it is a road, it's called Surf Road, ironic name. We drove down this road about 7 hours ago before the storm hit. It was an 8-mile drive, and it was fine, and now it's become a lake. As a matter of fact, behind me, it gets to about 5 feet deep. And the problem is there's no barriers here whatsoever. And the sun sets about 3 hours from now. And someone could come down this road, and the speed limit here is 55 miles per hour, and just drive into this water, and their car can float away. And that's why storm surge is so dangerous. And that's why so many people were concerned about it when we heard that the storm surge in this area where we are, Panacea, which is east of Panama City, where we heard it could be from 9 to 13 feet, the surge. It doesn't appear it was that deep. But nevertheless, you have water that's 5 feet deep behind me. What we saw here today, Jake, all over this area east of Panama City, was people just kind of stunned how strong this hurricane got. We and others reported that this was going to be a major hurricane, but we did not know it was going to be a 155-mile-per-hour hurricane, a strong Category 4, just 2 miles short of becoming a Category 5. Never in the history of the state of Florida with its panhandle, have they ever had a Category 4 storm hit the panhandle in recorded weather history. And as a matter of fact, you were just talking about Andrew, this is one of the strongest hurricanes that's ever hit the United States. So people knew it was going to be a major hurricane, didn't know it was going to be this strong, but because people in Florida are so hurricane savvy, Jake, we have found, we've been driving all over, and we have found for the most part, people did evacuate. They got away from the water, and we've been through lots of small towns in this area, and most of them have been virtually empty. As long as we've been here, we haven't seen any cars passing through here, but I'm absolutely very worried once the sun sets and it gets dark that someone could drive through this water, which is now up to 5 feet deep.
You do what? So we're back now, and again, we are monitoring coverage on multiple Facebook lives right now. So if you are seeing anything, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. I know somebody, Shanna Christian said, my family's on 23rd Street, need a number for the Cajun Navy. Trees are in their house, they need rescue. Okay, so we're definitely going to forward that along.
Yeah, and once it's safe, you want to find a way to signal to first responders out there. You want to, we've heard some comments about, putting a sheet out of your window. Make sure that just as long as you do that, make sure that you are elevated, you're on either a second or third floor of your home. Make sure that you're in a safe spot. But yes, if you're in need of rescue, now becomes the time, especially if you're on the panhandle, and the storm, of course, progressing past the panhandle for the most part. If you need rescue, to get, signal in some kind of way.
Yes, flashlight something, because we know it is getting dark. Get a flashlight while you still have some light. Get out there and get yourself rescued. But right now, we are going to check in, see what's the latest with the hurricane. We're going to check in now with our storm team meteorologists.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Storm Teammate Chief Meteorologist Steve Jerby, based out of WFLA, the NBC affiliate in Tampa, alongside WFLA meteorologist Ian Oliver, and we've been helping out our friends in Panama City and the Dothan area as best we can without knowing the specifics of the local situation, and talking about the storm, giving you a rough idea where the storm is located, what type of continued effects you may see. Thankfully, in the Panama City area, the winds are a little bit lighter now. They're coming in from the northwest, and certainly not anything in the way of precipitation, which is good, because now we start to focus on the recovery. There still is very much flooding issues because of the strong storm surge that came in, especially east of Panama City Beach down to Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe, and then all the way over to Apalachicola and points east of that. That onshore flow really did a lot of... Is this what's on the air here?
We have Max 2 as a source pulled up
Max
here.
2.
Just asking our directors just to confirm that. We actually cannot see this. Okay, there we go. We just switched over, so now we're seeing these.
Thankfully, because we saw the radar, but just want to show some of the earlier wind gusts. And this was registered at Tyndall Air Force Base, 129 mile-per-hour winds. So this was the real deal when it came ashore. The National Weather Service had, or National Hurricane Center rather, had upgraded the storm to 155 mile-per-hour winds. Rather unusual to see that at landfall, especially when a portion of the storm is actually over land, because when a storm makes landfall, the strongest winds are usually in the eye wall, and it officially makes landfall when the center of the eye comes ashore. We saw some very strong wind gusts associated with this storm. So it was a very, very significant storm as it came on shore, but now thankfully is much weaker. Look at where the satellite is at 8:25 Eastern, 7:25 Central Time. Still some decent convection associated with the storm. Convection is heat energy, and of course the rain bands that spiral off of it. This is a satellite image, and we're looking at cooler cloud tops colored in bright red. That means that there's still growth, convective growth within the thunderstorms, and the tops go very, very high, and the satellite says, okay, this is the more intense areas. So there's still a very clear signature there of that counterclockwise
And some of those brighter colors you're seeing spiral into the center, that is drier air finding its way to the core of the system, eventually weakening it a little bit. As you just showed, the storm was so powerful when it made landfall that even as this system spins down, it's taking hundreds of miles here. That's why we still have a Category 1 hurricane making its way through southwestern Georgia, essentially moving right over Albany, maybe just west of Albany. We showed you some of those high gusts. I believe it was 70 mile per hour a recorded gust in Albany. So we're still seeing very close to Category 1 hurricane force gusts at minimum, and that's away from the immediate center.
Yeah, and that's the center of the hurricane. That's the eye of the hurricane. It is still a hurricane, Category 1, with 90 mile per hour winds, even this far inland. So the storm will continue on the northeasterly path. You can just kind of eyeball how it's moving, and it should essentially move right over Macon, right over I-75. This is south of Atlanta. And this does not put Atlanta in the strongest area of winds. Typically with an advancing storm, that would be to the east or to the right of where that eye or the center of the spinning is. Still, though, we've seen wind gusts very strong on the western side as well, on the backside of the storm. So it's a storm to be respected still as it moves through the southeast. There's a really broad range across the southeast and where it's located in the satellite realm, and eventually headed for the Carolinas, as we showed you the forecast track a little earlier. Lay the radar on top of that, and this is a composite radar image. The southern side of the eye kind of opening up here, which isn't unusual as you start to bring in drier air. And we had a very, very clearly defined eye at landfall with the storm earlier this afternoon. Obviously, it's not that now because it is no longer drawing a lot of energy from the water, but it's still a very clear center of circulation and a very clear remaining tropical system out over the land area. So in the Atlanta area, getting these strong rain bands, which can produce some strong wind gusts. I think you mentioned we had a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust.
Oh, that was in Albany.
Albany, okay, yeah. So 70-mile-per-hour wind gust in basically southern and central Georgia. It's still pretty impressive. These rain bands that are kind of coming off the storm, bright colors, they are still definitely producing some strong wind gusts.
And some good news, at least we're getting these hourly updates from the National Hurricane Center, bringing you the latest information on the motion and the intensity of the storm. This latest update from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we did see the storm accelerate about 4 miles per hour. Its motion's the same, it's off to the north and east, but it went from 13 miles per hour to 17 miles per hour. So the quicker we can get this thing in and out, the quicker we'll start seeing lesser influence from this system. Still has max winds at the 8 o'clock update up to 90 miles per hour, and that would be right in those bands very close to the center of circulation, what's left of that eye where we're seeing the most intense rainfall. That's where we would see the potential for probably gusts up to that value.
Right, right. And that's gusts especially we want to put the emphasis on. You're not going to get a straight line 90-mile-per-hour wind in central Georgia with this storm for a minute or more.
And not with a hurricane that's been on shore for 7 hours now, incredibly.
But you can get 20, 30, 40, 50-mile-per-hour sustained winds for more than 10 seconds and some stronger wind gusts there. That's what's so scary about these things. You think they weaken when they come in, but it brought a lot of energy with it because it was almost a Category 5 hurricane, according to the National Hurricane Center, and that's quite impressive. We've had, in terms of air pressure, this is one of the lowest pressures. I think the third lowest pressure recorded with a landfall.
Julie's actually showing that on WFLA right now.
919 millibars.
Only the Labor Day storm of 35 and Camille had lower pressures at landfall. So just a little something to put this storm in perspective. It's historical in every way, shape, and form.
Yep, the Labor Day storm 1935 observed by a person holding a barometer in their hand.
Manually.
Manually, that's a good way. Manually, right? And Camille in 1969. That was a devastating Category 5 storm, as was the Labor Day storm. And Andrew as well was a Category 5 storm. I don't know whether or not they'll assess the damage from Michael and determine that it was a Category 5 as well. It's too early to say, but that's what they did with Andrew 10 years after the storm by doing assessments on the damage, determined that it was a Category 5 hurricane, although at the time was a Category 4. So a very dangerous storm. So it's in quite a league of landfalling storms in the last century, in the last 100 years on the continental U.S. to get Michael in that category. Just in mentioning those storms, it's tough. So we'll see the results of the storm surge, especially east of Apalachicola, over the next 24 hours and how bad that was, because I fear that the storm surge did some horrible damage there in the Florida Panhandle. We'll wait and see how that went.
Apalachicola earlier had a measured 7-foot water rise.
Right.
We know that at that location. Farther to the east along the Big Bend, I have not seen that yet.
That's more than the height of a person, and that's moving water with waves on top of that. That's why storm surge is so devastating. It's unstoppable. The weight of water is just mind-boggling. Just try to pick up a pail of water and then you think about that kind of volume coming ashore. It's hard to take in. So as we watch the storm and the timing on this, Thursday at 2 a.m., coming up here after midnight, and then Thursday at 2 p.m. is in the western part of North Carolina. And this would correspond Friday at 2 a.m. with the storm moving offshore Norfolk, Virginia, and then well out into the Atlantic a very long way. And you can see it carries all the way across. Those upper-level winds just shoot these storms fast across the Atlantic when they're in the right position. And because we have the change of seasons now, and we are expecting cooler temperatures, by the way, cooler and drier conditions in both Panama City and also the Dothan area, there's a big cold front. And we'll actually feel that here in the Tampa Bay area as early as Friday night, Saturday morning, with temperatures falling and drier air. So it's going to be, you're going to be dealing with extreme tropical weather, and then here before too long, probably later tomorrow, we start to feel some cooler, drier air build in here. So that'll be a nice relief, and unfortunately for the recovery, better weather conditions. So that's a view of the forecast track. We talked earlier about where the storm is going here and where the tropical storm force winds are. 39 to 73 is the range of tropical storm force winds. That little red dot would be hurricane force, and that would be mostly in gusts. And west of Eastman, east of Americus, south of Perry, maybe some strong wind gusts that could equal hurricane force of 74 miles per hour. We'll see. Nonetheless, this is all stronger gusts are expected to forecast to be moved through this area. And then as we go into the Carolinas, we talk about Lake City and Charleston and that region. There we go. Yeah, you go ahead. That's all right. I think the folks get the point here. And then as we go off into North Carolina, New Bern, Wilmington, these areas could see some tropical storm force gusts, 39 miles per hour plus. Gusts, not sustained, but still kind of an area that's very sensitive and still dealing with the effects of the last storm. It's brutal to see them have to deal with this type of thing. So that is the progress of the storm at the moment. The alerts, the hurricane warning, of course, a lot of these will start to fall. We've seen them fall here in the central part of Florida. And the tropical storm warning that's been issued. We've also seen tornado watches, and that's a good idea because with these rain bands, a lot of wind shear. It's very common, in fact we've seen it today, for tornadoes to be produced by these rain bands that spiral off the center of the storm. So we just know that tornado watch is in effect for this area. Tropical storm warning, sustained winds very strong through this area, so it'll go up into South and North Carolina, eastern sections of North Carolina, south of Norfolk, Virginia eventually. So all the possibility of tropical storm force wind conditions. Coastal areas, some minor effects I think as it get off into the mid-Atlantic, largely because of the wind has weakened. If we get any kind of onshore, of course, that's always an effect on the tides. And we're still dealing with higher tide issues in Panama City and all along the Florida Gulf Coast because we still have wind directions that are coming in from the west. And it may help to hold in a lot of the water that's already come in, so that drain of storm surge going back out might be a little bit slower as a result of the wind direction.
I'm keeping an eye on some of these reports coming in. This is to the Tallahassee National Weather Service office. Looks like the ASOS, the sensor at the Southwest Georgia Regional Airport, I believe that's Dougherty County, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, a gust to 70 miles per hour.
Wow.
So yes, still producing close to hurricane force gusts. Or
say that again.
That came in at 8:22. It was Southwest Georgia Regional Airport, Dougherty County.
All right.
It was the ASOS site there, recorded a peak wind gust of 70 miles per hour. Seeing a couple more reports. One coming in to Thomasville, Georgia, a gust to 46 miles per hour. Mitchell County Airport, AWAS there, Camilla, peak gust to 48 miles per hour. So some lesser gusts there, but those still well up into tropical storm
50
force.
mile per hour gust. If you're not used to that, now you get severe thunderstorms in southern Georgia, in southeastern Alabama, and of course the Florida Panhandle. You know what these strong winds are like, but when you feel them and you get a hurricane force or tropical storm force wind gust, that's very, very impressive, and certainly that's been the case here across southern Georgia. Still able to produce this kind of precipitation and wind is very impressive for a storm that's essentially over land, a Category 1 hurricane.
And here's something else that's very interesting. We always talk about that minimum central pressure, that huge area of low pressure that actually drives these circulations, what creates the strong winds. A new all-time low sea level pressure was set at Panama City today. Panama City's observation site, the sea level pressure at their sensor, which of course is likely not directly in the center, dropped down to 922.4 millibars. That was at 120.
Okay.
The previous record was 979 millibars.
Wow. And millibars is a measurement of the air pressure. The lower the air pressure, the lower that number, I guess essentially the more intense the storm is, a good way to say it. And we saw a 919, I think, recorded probably not at that location, but 922 is very close to that.
That was the landfall pressure.
Right, and that's the league, and that's in the league of those
the majors.
Like Hurricane Andrew
Yes.
we were talking about. So that's a recorded, that's an observation as well, so that's impressive in not a good way for it to be that intense. And that's why we're still looking at a storm at 8:37 Eastern, 7:37 Central. That is still an impressive storm, and it's moving along here across the central and southern parts of Georgia. So in the path of this storm, Macon and eventually Augusta, and moving into the western parts of South Carolina, west of Columbia. Still some decent wind gusts left in the storm itself, but it is still swirling some very strong wind gusts across the southern portion of Georgia, and will do so over the next couple of hours. Still got a pretty good forward clip here. I think it was 14 miles per hour.
17 now.
Okay. You know, you hate to see these things come ashore at all, but once they're ashore and it's inevitable, then let's try to get it out of here as quick as possible and weaken it as quick as possible. And it's got a lot of exposure to land right now, depriving it of that energy from the Gulf of Mexico, which is so warm and has provided that fast ramp up to almost Category 5 status today. So that's kind of a briefing as to what's going on here from the Weather Center. And I would tell our producers to have our news crew stand by, as we'll continue to update you, but that's what we know at the moment. Just expect this very strong wind gust that could go up to possibly hurricane force of 70 miles per hour plus. Expect these rain bands that might produce those wind gusts that could go even stronger than that. They're brief and they're violent, but they're getting weaker as the storm continues to move over land. But as Ian had mentioned, we've been observing wind gusts in southern Georgia at tropical storm strength, and if you haven't experienced those before, it can be briefly pretty scary. So if you're in southern Georgia, and if you're in the southeastern part of Alabama, in Dothan area, things are definitely improving. You could still see some decent wind gusts, but the bulk of the precipitation is moving away from you. If you're in Panama City, good news is that the precipitation is gone. You'll still see a breezy evening. You'll still see coastal effects, the flooding, especially east of Mexico Beach and Port St. Joe. Those areas are going to have difficulty. The storm surge areas of getting rid of that water that was pushed in such great amount and a great distance. It'll take a while for that water to come back up. So we'll continue to watch it here. Hurricane Michael is 90-mile-per-hour winds, now a Category 1 hurricane. And guys, we'll check back in with you a bit later.
Thank you, Steve. For those just joining us, I'm Melissa Marino.
I'm JB Buno, and we are simulcasting to a whole bunch of different Facebook pages, to a whole bunch of digital platforms today. We just kind of remind you of this storm, so much so that they lost power, they lost internet, they lost the ability to broadcast. So that we're helping out here tonight from Tampa. We're in Tampa, Florida, and we're helping them out, and also WDHN in Dothan, Alabama. They too also have lost the ability to broadcast, and that's why we're reaching out to you today on whatever digital platform you're watching on.
That's right, and we are following your comments on Facebook Live. If you leave comments, we will be going through them in just a bit and kind of chatting with you. We're going to check in with our own Corey Davis. He rode out the storm in a hotel in Panama City.
Take a look.
Right now we are getting a good look of the damage out here after Hurricane Michael battered Panama City in this area. I want to show you just what we experienced here at a Holiday Inn hotel off of MLK Boulevard. The walls of some of the rooms here ripped right out. Shards of glass went flying out. Some people were told were injured. This is what it looks like on this very large building at isolated spots around this building here. But take a look over here. I want to show you just some of the exterior damage too. Back here before the hurricane arrived, we could see green forest. Couldn't see through, but now straight through there you can see a shopping center on the other side. Those trees totally leveled, sheared off at the top. The wind still blowing some of those palms at the moment, but nothing like before. I want to show you behind us here too, the roof of a shopping center nearby blew off. This is what it's been like around this area in Panama City, and further out, power lines are covering MLK Boulevard right now, making it impassable at the moment. And further over to the right here, linemen are positioned to go out and hopefully begin this long process of getting the power back on and repairing all of this infrastructure. We do know that this hotel is being evacuated at the moment for now, and we also know that an infant was hurt when the shards of glass blew out during that storm and hit his leg. Right now, we will continue to keep you updated. For now, we are in Panama City. I'm Corey Davis.
Thank you, Corey. And we can also report tree. We are told that authorities responded to the home, a Greensboro man's home. We are told the tree trapped him inside the home. Emergency crews were heading there. Lines blocked roads. They actually made that man's
fall due to all of that pressure from
yeah,
a wind gust there. And this is in Dothan. So we're going to bring up, what we're going to do here in Tampa is we're going to bring up the WDHN Facebook stream. I have it here in my hand. So to everybody in Dothan, you're actually looking at video here from Dothan, Alabama. This is from Hurricane Michael earlier on today, a tree falling. So we're going to give you guys an opportunity here. If you guys have any comments or if you want to describe what you're seeing there in southeastern Alabama, feel free to let us know in the comments here.
Of course, make sure you are safe. Make sure that you do not risk your safety to show us any pictures or anything like that. But we would like to hear some reports if you are able to do so and remain safe. But you saw from that video just the power of the wind.
Yes.
Just incredible.
Sandy
out of Dothan.
Sandy from Dothan saying, Dothan, my hometown from my childhood. I'm in Maryland now, thinking and praying for all of my friends and family. So that's that's at least one comment coming in from and WDHN's Facebook page, and to all of our television friends out there in both in Dothan and in Panama City Beach. We've worked storms before. This is obviously a historic storm, but we want to let you know that we're with you. We're here from Tampa to give you guys all the support that you need, and we're thinking of you. We're thinking of you.
And you stay in a hotel. You hope you're safe because it is a hotel, and you just saw right there Corey's hotel. It's being evacuated. You saw windows blown out. That just shows how powerful that this storm has been. Going to catch up with the story that I actually covered a little bit earlier. The hurricane hunters, they are based here in the Tampa, Florida. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey everyone, this is Chief Meteorologist Justin Kiefer from News 13. The entire news operation right now is in our newsroom, and we're all in here, and right now we're all safe. We've lost power, we've lost our generator, and the wind continues to make unbelievable noise on top of this building. But right now we're all safe. We'll try to continue to update you as much as we can. Some cell service is lost, but we have some cell service on different carriers, and this is what we're doing. What would you like for me to pass on here?
The main thing, of course, Justin, is that we're all safe. Yeah. We're all fine. How long we got for this eye wall to come over? Okay. To tell people that love us and are concerned about us that we're okay once the storm passes. How much time?
Based on the last radar picture I saw, the eye was crossing the coastline to the south end of Tyndall Air Force Base, and so Panama City was in the left side of it, the left eye wall. And so as the storm moves northward at 15 miles an hour, it won't get up into the interior sections of the Panhandle for about 2 hours. At that point, I think that the weather will finally settle down a bit here at Panama City. But for the next half hour or so, we're talking about near a hurricane or above force. The storm had winds measured by Hurricane Center at 150, and pressure was down lower than Hurricane Andrew. So it came in as strong as a hurricane that's really ever hit Florida. Keep that in mind, and the strongest ever to hit the Florida Panhandle. But again, the entire news operation, everybody who unless they're safe somewhere else, in South Walton or up in the Emergency Operations Center, everybody is in the newsroom of News 13 right now. And we're doing okay. We're doing okay. And I just want to let you know that, and we appreciate it.
Tom, can you come talk to us for a minute on Facebook here?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, as Justin just said, this is an unprecedented event for all of us. I know all of you who are managing to see this, how many ever of you are able to handle this right now. This is something none of us have ever experienced before. We just want to make sure everybody stays exactly where they are right now. Do not go outside. Don't go outside at all. Wait until this thing is fully passed. Wait until everything calms down. Our emergency crews will get out there and do as much as they can, as soon as they can, as soon as it's safe to put them out there. I'm hoping that everybody heeded the evacuation orders that were in the low-lying areas. We know, though, that there are a lot of you who did not. We hope you're all safe. As soon as you can get to an opportunity to where you can I don't know, fly a flag outside of your door. A lot of you won't have power. You won't have electricity. Phone service is down. It's going to be difficult. But once things get safe, go outside, try and flag down someone in your neighborhood, passing emergency vehicles, anything you can, to let them know that you're there, you're safe, and you need help. If you're watching this and you do not, you're trying to get a hold of a loved one and you can't reach them, get a hold of authorities. Let them know you want a welfare check on whoever your loved one is. Give them the address, phone number, any information you can have. The important thing right now is staying out of the way. I can tell you right now from listening to what's going on over our roof right now, there is a heck of a lot of debris blowing out there. Please stay indoors. You could very easily get hit by a piece of this debris and it could take your life. It's not a laughing matter. This is not a thrill seeker adventure. This is not something you're going to run out and go, hey, watch this. This is not something you want to mess with, folks. This is a deadly storm. Please stay inside until the danger has passed. We're hoping, we thought, actually would have thought by now that things would have calmed down and the eye passed over, but that has not been the case.
Well, we're just in this western edge.
Watch that.
Listen.
The Weather Channel's reporting. The Weather Channel's reporting that this came in as 155 miles per hour, and then we have 155, and then we currently have gust up to 185.
It certainly feels like it, doesn't it?
And from what I can tell, from what we're seeing here, that's got to be verifiable.
Every bit of that.
155 is what the Weather Channel was saying this came in at, so that's about as close as you can get to a Category 5 without calling it a Category 5.
Ross, this is playing out like everybody's been talking about for the last few days. Planning for this to come in is strong. It's even stronger than anticipated. Living it right now,
I got 70 something.
Get close to it. As Tom Lewis said, the danger is still there right now, and after it passes, the danger is still going to be there as far as getting it.
All right. Well, I'm going to be the mom. I'm going to ask people to pray for us. I pray for everybody in Bay County and who's going through this. I'm scared. We're safe, but I'm scared. And a lot of folks are texting, so we're okay, but the prayers are needed.
We have a good, solid evacuation plan in place. We have a strong building right next to us. If we have to leave this building, we'll go into that building.
Yeah, we're all together in the newsroom right now. We're just keeping watch on it.
We have a good plan in place, and we're waiting on this to pass. Justin, Ross, how long's it got before it passes?
5 minutes would be good.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I gotta say that there were 30 minutes to an hour of this weather right now over downtown Panama City.
Yeah, we were right on the northern eye wall, and we had the unfortunate ability that we went right through the western eye wall as well. So we never got out of the eye wall. We didn't hit the northern eye wall, then the center of the storm. We basically were on that pivot point of the northern eye wall to the western eye wall, and we're going to be in that until the southern eye wall goes by, which potentially with the movement of that storm was 15 miles per hour. The width of that eye wall was 15 miles wide, so if you add another 15 miles on each side of that eye wall, which is about the distance of the eye walls, we're talking about an hour or an hour and a half, maybe even 3 hours. And the last notification I got from the National Hurricane Center was that the extreme wind warning had been extended another hour. So for us, that's substantial.
What about flooding? What about flooding? We're so close to the bay.
I don't know if the storm surge.
I need to call the First Baptist too, if somebody has a cell phone that works, because mine's not
I
working.
do.
Keep going.
The storm surge. I don't. This is above where that water was going to be.
23 feet.
23 feet where we stand. We'd have to see 26 foot of storm surge. It really didn't. I'm not saying it's not going to push close enough into parts of Panama City that never saw water before. But right now, I think that at this point, I think we're above the water.
Yeah, and we had a fairly strong north and east wind to start this, so that would have been pushing against the water coming in. Places down around Port St. Joe, back toward Mexico Beach, they're likely having that south wind continue to push water inland, so the storm surge isn't done there. And we were showing those wave height maps that during the center of the storm on the east side there were wave heights up to 33 feet. So we could be talking about wave heights going into Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe, probably 25 foot waves moving into Mexico Beach.
On top of the storm surge.
On top of the storm surge.
Like you were saying, Ross, the city, Panama City, did not get a break from the storm. we're taking the north side, this back side, right, the northwest side of this, with no benefit of a
break.
No break.
Yeah, we're not a glancing blow. It's just we're in the grinding part of the western eye wall and remaining there, unfortunately, for it's been an hour now, and I think there's going to be another hour where it's going to be. It will start to wane just a bit, but it's going to take at least an hour for it finally to go. Okay, things are breaking loose. Whatever is broken off at 100 whatever plus miles an hour. The winds we'll have later won't be as strong, so things that are weakened might come off, but it's going to take at least an hour.
Will it stop and then start again, like by surprise?
No.
Not for us.
We didn't get into the center.
No, the only place that's going to happen is Eastern Bay County, like Allenton. It's going to be bad. It's going to stop because the eye is going to go right over Allenton, and then it's going to pick up on the south side. But that center is also going to go up kind of over northern Gulf County. I don't know if it'll go over Wewa-Hitchcock, but it may wind up going over Bluntstown. It'll start filling in just a bit, but they'll get into a lull. So there's going to be a period for some, but it's in Eastern Bay County, northwestern Gulf County, southwestern Calhoun County, where they'll have that eye break. Everywhere else, there's no break.
Here's the fear, the catastrophic damage with this storm. Winds at 155, 155 miles per hour. It's absolutely unbelievable. It could have been horrible, but it's less than that. But the velocity, the winds, the damaging, destructive winds like that, we only saw just a little bit of the damage out there before we had to leave the studio and come off there. We don't know what lies there.
100-mile snapshot. I mean, 100-yard. 100-yard snapshot. And there's roofs off and awnings off and stuff flying everywhere. Now multiply that by 4 counties. Okay. So, from Franklin County all the way to South Walton's probably seeing stuff flying around. Maybe not as bad as it is in Bay County because that's where the strongest winds are. But it's the magnitude of the destruction. Will alter the shape, alter the picture of this coastline.
It's absolutely amazing to think about. And the danger is still there. These heavy winds, things blowing around, things you can't see. If you think you can get out to go somewhere, don't. Because it could cost your life. You have to be where you are secure and hope and pray that this thing gets on out of here.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're no longer on air and able to track this moving inland. But we just got the eye wall here, but it's going to continue to move basically up the direction of 23 back toward Bluntstown, Mariana. You're still in the way of this eye wall eventually making its way up there, and that's coming. It's moving up. We were
going
talking
right up
about
231. That western eye wall is paralleling 231. So this is being repeated for Bayou George.
And as it moves northward, Justin, the wind velocity is going to have to be affected to a degree. Still strong.
What's it saying now? What is it?
What
is it? What's going on?
Let me jump in here real quick. The EOC, our Bay County Emergency Operations Center, is kind of dead in the water right now. So they are trying to arrange for the local media outlets to go on the WKGC studios, which is one of the lines is located up there at the EOC. And that, as soon as we can get somebody safely up there, we'll continue along that route. We do have somebody at the EOC right now. We're going to try and get them on and take care of that. I got a call from, well, I'll tell you who it was. It was CFO Jimmy Petronas about an hour ago, and said that in Gulf County, their EOC was losing the roof. Several other of their buildings were losing the roof, and I think they were headed to the sheriff's office or the jail. They're relocating everything there. So Gulf County is taking a serious pounding. There's a lot of people out there that are depending on these emergency operations officials, and they're in the same shape we are, folks. They're having the same kind of trouble we are, and they are working their best to try and do a workaround so they can get information out either directly to people or through us to people. That's why we're doing this right now. We could easily be over in a corner cowering, quite frankly, because
be easy to do.
I will tell you, I've lived through, guys and ladies, I've lived through, I don't know, dozens of these. I grew up here when I was 3 years old. I remember going through Eloise in high school. I remember Opal watching this roof right back here peel off while we were live on the air, Amy. I remember Ivan. I remember Dennis. I mean, on and on and on and on. I made the comment 2 days ago, this one scares me.
Well,
and apparently it was justified.
Do you think we're going to look back at this like it was Katrina?
similar?
This is going to, well,
That's a good
question. The difference is the flooding that happened in New Orleans we won't have that devastation, but I think we can pretty much rank this storm against any of the big ones that have hit in this area in the last 25, 30 years. Yeah.
EOC is down. Kristen just texted.
EOC is down, we know, But I mean,
if we can do anything,
we're doing what we can right now, folks. We're doing all we can, but the big one that everybody remembers, Camille. I remember that as a child. We got bands of that over here in Panama City.
August 16th.
You know, everybody, the measuring stick used to be Camille. Then it became Andrew. Now it's Katrina. Who knows? This one may be the next measuring stick.
Somebody just asked how Lynn Haven is. Can you explain that? We don't know how Lynn Haven is.
We don't know how anything is at the moment.
If you're out of town and you're asking for back in town, Lynn Haven's going through the same thing we are.
Verizon's
down.
Probably worse.
Verizon's down, by the way. They want everybody to know Verizon's down.
I have another
Towers
request. You know, we have those of us that are here and safe, we have some savvy relatives probably, and then we have some relatives that aren't Facebook savvy. So those of you who know us and love us and are seeing this on Facebook and you know another family that doesn't know how we are, maybe you can tell them that. Tell them we're okay. We're okay.
That's a good point. We are okay. We're just a little shaken up, that's all.
David, the network you're on is T-Mobile?
Yeah.
And is this going live or are you recording?
This is live.
Unbelievable. That's fantastic.
People are asking questions.
Monday.
Yeah. T-Mobile, we're coming for you.
Oh my
we have
goodness.
response, so people are watching and listening.
Right, correct. So if you can get the word out that you're hearing and seeing and watching, in spite of my tears, I apologize. That's the mom in me, and I'm glad my kids left town. And you know what? I bet you're thinking the same thing. I wish we had evacuated. Not us, because this is what we do, but I wish more people had evacuated, or feeling that they wish they had evacuated. So after this, let this be the memory to listen to the officials for the next go-round. Gotta go.
In the past, storms had happened, but nothing to this magnitude.
No,
Even though
we never dreamed.
Prior to this, from everybody here, all the media, all the authorities and everything,
We never
make your
dreamed.
plan to get out of town if you got to, go to a shelter. Now we're living it. So from here on out, everybody will definitely remember Michael and what's going on.
You know, our news director, Tom Lewis, brought up Camille. Camille had some winds that went over 200 miles per hour. So it may not reach that level. It pushed a big freighter ship up the Mississippi River. These things happened with Camille that never have happened and probably will never again. 26-foot storm surge, past Christian, Mississippi wiped off, that kind of stuff. But this is our Camille. This is our Andrew.
And we don't know what's going on now, what's happened, what's happening now, or what will happen before the storm's out.
That's right.
We won't be able to know until it's over, so it'll be a good, before we can step outside and look, 6 hours?
Hopefully before the sun goes down, we might be able to step outside.
Take a peek.
Because right now the time is, 1:30? 1 o'clock. So 5 hours, I think by 6 o'clock we might be able to step outside to where we can go, okay, wow.
You got something? What's going
Hello,
on?
guys.
Hey.
Hey. So I'm actually a Floridian, but I'll tell you what, I have never been through a storm like this. My family and my parents, they actually went through Irma, and I remember them texting me from the closet saying that they heard all the commotion going on, so kind of.
Now you know what they felt.
But they got through it, and we'll get through it. And we're here, and we're all together, and that's what's giving me relief, is that we're all here together. And anytime I get anxiety, I look around and I look at my coworkers, and I think, at least we're all here together.
And Siri's joining in.
Yeah.
Siri works. Siri always.
When you least expected, they're Siri.
Yeah. But
well, it's good that Megan stepped up, because you know we have a lot of young reporters who are new to this, and they've done such a phenomenal job out in the field.
Right.
A lot of them are from
Speaking
northern
of young
states.
reporter, we're going to move over a little bit.
Carly does great.
Carly did great out in the field last night, but I bet you didn't think it was going to get this bad.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I mean, we talked about it so much, so we knew it was going to get. I mean, we warned people for a reason, and one of the biggest things I heard when I was out in the field yesterday, and I was right at Mexico Beach and all through, to San Andreas Marina, was, people were like, well, we're used to, we're used to hurricanes. We live in Florida, but I mean, this is way bigger than I think anything that we've seen. It's bigger than anything I've seen. I mean, I know I'm not from here, but
it's hard to imagine until it actually happens.
Yeah, and that's what we've been saying too, though, is like, it seems fine now. It seems like a normal storm.
I'm not sure how
but
much
once
charge
it's here.
Yeah,
and there's no
We're just
turn
going to
back.
go until the charge runs out.
different.
Hey, I mean,
we're here together.
We have no power.
We have a great team, and I'm happy to work with you guys. I'm proud to work with a team like this.
Oh, portable shark.
Come this way. Let's show our other reporting. Got some other folks around here too. Tom, Megan.
Our number one reporter.
So that video certainly shows why we are here. They have lost power. They do not have cell phone service, as I'm sure many in the area are experiencing. So that is why we are here for our sister station, bringing you the latest news to keep you safe, to keep you informed. So we are here for WMBB and WDHN, both of our sister stations. They are having power issues. They are also having cell phone issues. So that is why we are here.
Yes, actually very surprised that they were able to get a Facebook Live single out via cellular. You heard them talking about how T-Mobile was maybe one of the last carriers they had available up there, but it really gives you just kind of a very realistic perspective as to what it's like for television crews right now in that area, just trying to deal with all these circumstances that arise in a major hurricane. So
it's devastating.
Again,
and we can tell you the latest power outage number, at least 388,000 customers, people without power right now. So just incredible numbers. Of course, power crews are on standby to help restore power. The problem is the storm is really just kind of slowly making its way away, and they're dealing with road conditions, rescue, so that's going to be first priority before they can even deal with power outages.
Yeah, the first night is always the most difficult. Crews, of course, can't really see all that well. They're dealing with all of the storm surge, all the rising waters that they're waiting for the storm waters to recede so they can get to more and more neighborhoods. So it's going to be many days before we're back up and running. So again, Melissa Marino is here. I'm JB Buno. Again, we're broadcasting to the digital platforms of multiple stations for you tonight. Again, WMBB, WDHN, and of course our station where we are in Tampa, Florida for WFLA News Channel 8.
Yeah, and just to reiterate his point, the governor actually issued a warning and just said there's actually a curfew in effect for many areas, and we are talking 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. And there's a number of reasons for that, but one of the main ones, and the governor is stressing, stay off the roads, let emergency responders go out and start doing search and rescue missions. Not to mention, the conditions are not safe. You do not want to become one of those people that need to be rescued. We are talking flooded roads, down trees, down power lines, live wires, and possibly even in water. I mean, it does not get any more dangerous than trying to venture out right now, and not to mention you literally could be arrested because there are curfews in most areas, if not all.
Yeah, when you're dealing with waters that are 3 or 4 feet deep, you're trying to either walk or drive or even if you're on a kayak, I mean, you just don't know what's in the water this time of night because the sun has set. You're dealing with darkness. You're dealing with waters that have just rushed in from the Gulf over.
Debris.
It's
dangerous,
a mess, so
to say the least, and there will be some dangerous critters floating in the water too, not to mention many other dangers.
You always hear those horror stories, don't you? And it makes you think twice about wanting to get out in those waters right now. But so what we want to do here for you is I've been collecting some of the most impressive videos over the course of the day. Well, I want to start with can we just take this one here full and just kind of exactly what we're seeing here. Here we go. This is some of the storm damage from Panama City Beach today, and this was one of the roaming television crews. What they were doing was they were just driving around roads that they could pass before things got really bad with the storm surge, and were able to shoot. You can see they're actually moving, I believe, in a vehicle, shooting as much as they can, and kind of running and gunning, so to speak. I mean, look at some of the damage here, and this is just some of the minimal minor
that's
stuff.
before the winds hit 155 miles per hour, maybe even worse. And as you can see, downed posts, fence, trees. We've seen smashed out windows.
Look at that.
A fridge.
That's a fridge.
Wonder where that came from.
Yeah, a lot of debris flying all over the place, but if this thing is powerful enough to throw a fridge down the street, you just kind of get an idea as to how major of a storm we're talking about here. That appears to be a billboard. I believe that's a billboard.
And again, this, as you said, this was early on. These images can only be worse now, as the storm has been devastating.
Yeah, look, we always see roofs of gas stations in major storms.
They're like aluminum roof. Yeah.
Yeah, they get ripped to shreds, and this is one here at a mobile gas station again in Panama City Beach. You can just kind of see just the level of destruction that we're talking about here. We've actually seen in some storms, some gas stations, like the entire structure comes up, the pillars with them too. Look at this.
down power lines. That is exactly why authorities are saying do not go out, do not try and drive, because that is what you're going to see a lot of. Down power lines, you do not know if those wires are live.
And
so
down
you do not want to
trees.
risk it. Yes.
Look at the size of that tree. I'm going to show you some tree video here in a minute or so, but we were talking about the roads being impassable. This is just the minor stuff. We haven't even gotten really to the serious stuff just yet.
And we can confirm one person has died, a Florida Panhandle man. He was killed by a falling tree. It fell on his Greensboro home and trapped him. And then emergency responders, they had trouble getting to him because of blocked roads and down power lines. So imagine somebody trying to drive through that. It's just not safe. Emergency responders are having enough trouble as it is.
And look at that. You were talking about live wires earlier. Look at this power line. This thing is just falling, and it looks like it's being propped up by the remainder of the power lines that are kind of keeping that one pole off the ground.
We're seeing a lot of homes,
really dangerous.
Businesses completely destroyed, like you were seeing right here. And again, it's these winds. A lot of it's the winds. The floodwaters are really just starting to kind of start. So this is just damage from the wind.
All right, so we're going to go, I'm actually going to bring up the computer here, and we're going to go into the rest of the clips that I have for you. We'll get to this one here last, but this one, my jaw is on the floor. This is from Mexico Beach. This is a town just to the east of Panama City Beach.
This is where the hurricane made landfall.
Right.
Primarily, this is where it first hit.
And this is a high-rise.
Wow.
Somebody on a high-rise looking down, and what you would normally see from this view, as it's been told to me, is you would normally see many streets, a lot of property, but this is the Gulf. The Gulf has really swallowed this entire neighborhood, and all the debris from the destroyed homes are being carried by the current and ending up like in piles. We're seeing floating debris here.
And that's why they're saying don't try and drive through this water, do not wade in the water, even in boats or kayaks or things like that. And that's why, because all of that debris is ending up in the water. You just don't know what is in that water. I think that a lot of the coastline that was hit, this is what we're going to be seeing. You know, we don't have all of the images yet because this is really just fresh. This is now, this is where Michael hit though, 155-mile-per-hour winds, and you can see what happens there. And look at all the water. That's the biggest concern, was the flooding, the storm surge, and that is what we are seeing.
Yeah, you're looking at the Gulf, everybody. I mean, this is the Gulf that has invaded this neighborhood thanks to Hurricane Michael, bringing all this precipitation along shore. And you know, even though this is kind of a a distant cell phone video, you can see that some of this debris is obviously sharp. This is not something that you want to be, trying to on a canoe or a kayak or a boat. And a lot of this debris is still free flowing. It's floating, but it's moving from place to place, so it's extremely hazardous. Let's go to another clip here. When you hope
somebody taking video, you hope that they are all safe right now. I can imagine that area is likely, not for sure, but likely without power at this point.
Okay, so this, I want to paint a picture for all of our Facebook viewers out here. This video was sent to me by Mandy Jackson. She's a homeowner in Panama City Beach, and she has a Wi-Fi security system on her home. She fled the area. This is video from her Wi-Fi security system that she sent me. This was from about 12:30. Well, watch what happens here in a couple of hours. We're going to jump ahead to the video here at 4:30.
Oh my
and
gosh,
look at that.
Look how
look
high
at
the water
difference.
is. And look at that, look how powerful. That's the other thing they say about trying to go through the water, is it's actually very powerful.
A wave. I mean, that is a wave that is eclipsing the top of that roof.
And you can see all the debris there in the water.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we mentioned earlier, was that some people who fled actually ended up getting the best video by staying in touch with their Wi-Fi security systems on their home. Look at that. I mean, the wave just hitting the camera there.
I'm glad that they didn't choose to stay, because it looks like anybody that did is likely going to be rescued or needs rescued.
This looks like a single-story property.
Yes.
And so, we've seen it in a lot of storms when people don't have the ability, if they choose to stay and they're in a single-level property and they can't go up. We've seen people, go to the roof.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of folks rescued off their roof, from whether it's first responders. We've also seen, I think it's the Cajun Navy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They come up on boats, and as you can see, I mean, that's the only way that they can get to you, and that's why authorities ask you to evacuate, because they want to stay safe. They want you to stay safe. They don't want it to get to this point.
All right, let's show you the next clip here. And okay, this one I could not believe when I found it. and I got the permission from a very nice lady. This was in, I think this was in Panama City, not Panama City Beach. All right, everybody see this tree right here? Watch what happens when a wind gust, we're talking about a very powerful wind gust from Hurricane Michael hits.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That has to be incredibly powerful. That tree is massive. The roots are massive.
And you know, I've been watching this clip. This is probably the 20th time I've seen it, but I'm trying to see if the top of the tree
hits the house.
Hits the house across the street.
Looks like it narrowly misses it. Wow.
That's how big of a tree we're talking about here.
And that's not flooding. That's literally just the wind taking that tree down.
And look at all of the lawn, all the grass that comes up as a result of this. I mean, all of the roots dug deep there in Panama City. This is an entire front section of a property now that has to be reconstructed.
Wow,
we just hope that home across the street wasn't hit, because that's just unbelievable video that we're seeing.
It just shows, all these videos kind of really show all of the elements that they're dealing with this hurricane: the winds, the storm surge, the water, trees down, power lines down, flooded streets. I mean, just incredible.
We've never seen video of stuff this powerful with these wind gusts, at least on the Florida Panhandle, at least here in the state of Florida. The last clip was actually a piece of a news package that we had for you earlier, but again, I think it's just worth a second look here for our Facebook viewers out there. I forget the name of this reporter, but he is looking.
That's a parking garage.
Yeah,
I know a lot of folks thought that they were safe. You know, oh, my car's up high on a parking garage. Well, here's this.
Look, yeah, those look like some jet skis, and then that's the vehicle. But if I was that reporter, I don't want to go out and face these wind gusts with all that precipitation flying through the air. It really just goes to show how powerful this storm is, and we've seen this clip over and over again. It never ceases to amaze me just how much. It's a very visual clip because you can't really see wind on camera, but when wind is carrying precipitation, it gives it more of an aesthetic that we can actually see
look at
and
the
get
trees.
an idea.
Look at the tree. I mean, they're almost completely
incredible.
Just incredible. And just to go over just quickly some numbers, we can confirm that a Florida Panhandle man, he was killed by a falling tree, excuse me. It crashed through the roof of his home. He lived in Greensboro and trapped him. Emergency crews, they were heading to the home to help him, but downed power lines and blocked roads made getting to his home difficult, and that's a lot of what we are hearing about now as they go out to do search, rescue, and recovery missions. They want people to be off the roads. Do not try and check on your home. Do not try and check on family members. Let first responders deal with that. They want you to stay off the roads. It's not safe, frankly, right now.
There's been a release sent out by the office of Governor Rick Scott. 54 shelters open in Florida, population of nearly 6,700 people, 19,000 power restoration personnel pre-positioned in Florida and ready to respond. That is so key for so many different people across the Florida Panhandle tonight who need power back. Some need rescue, others need power. This is an enormous priority. Of course, rescues will always come first, but for 19,000 people, staff members ready and dedicated to getting Florida neighborhoods back online with electricity, that's reassuring, and hopefully a lot of neighborhoods will be back up and running with power in the days to come.
Here's the big thing, just be patient. We have seen a number of folks on Facebook wanting to check on somebody or go back home to see. This is the thing. Go to this website, floridadisaster.org/info. This is where you can see what evacuations orders are in place for the area that you live. You do not want to try and drive back there until the evacuation orders are lifted. That is when authorities deem that it is safe for you to go back, so you really want to check this website before going back to check. floridadisaster.org/info. Again, that will show evacuation orders in place for your area. Again, the governor is asking, do not drive on the roads, shelter in place. First responders are doing search, rescue, and recovery missions as we speak. Leave it up to them, and they will try to ensure your safety.
And just looking at some of the comments here on social media, and just Again, we cannot provide specifics on neighborhoods because of where we are. Again, we are in Tampa, Florida. We are broadcasting on behalf of our sister stations that are trying to get back up and running tonight. Engineers working tirelessly to get back up and running in the respective markets of Panama City Beach, that's WMBB, and then Dothan, Alabama, WDHN. They're trying to get back up with broadcasting capability, and we're just trying to give everybody an overview of some of the information that applies regionally we don't necessarily have. So people asking about specific neighborhoods, again, we're trying to get as much detailed information for you as possible, but we can't get that detailed geographically.
One of the issues that we're running into, again, 388,000 people without power. Many are without cell phone service. I know we mentioned some providers earlier that were having some cell phone issues. So until those issues are resolved, and unfortunately that's going to be some time, we're not going to get some of the specific areas, a lot more of the damage reports, because cell phone areas are down, power outages. I mean, we have 388,000 people without power, and we've showed video of electric companies there ready to restore power. The problem is they really can't get to those areas now. Right now, areas are flooded, trees are down, power lines are down, and it's really first responders trying to rescue people, find people, make sure people are okay before we'll see power restored and, you know, cell phone lines restored, really.
So for our news producers in the control room, I'm trying to get an idea of what we can show our viewers here on Facebook and on our digital platforms next. If I believe it might be, if I'm reading this correctly, yeah, we're going to be going to Peyton Lochiero on South Walton Beach. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, I'm News 13's Peyton Locicero. I am live in South Walton here at the Ed Walline Beach Access. As you can see, that the winds are really starting to pick up. We are keeping that calm inside the storm because we're waiting for the eye to pass and that second outer bands to hit us here. I am with the South Walton Fire District Beach Safety, David Bond, who is going to give us a little eye of what you guys are seeing on y'all's beaches. What are you guys experiencing? What do you guys know?
Well, Peyton, you just caught me as we're starting our damage assessment, so I just got out here and cleared the beach to keep people from accessing the beach. The beaches are still closed. Of course, the water's still closed. The curfew has been lifted. The bridges have just been reopened. But we asked the public to stay sheltered in place for now, as you said. As we're going to get the second bands coming in, we need people to exercise caution and discretion so that we can get our damage assessment done and make sure that the power line and road clearage and debris, we need to get an assessment of that so that we can formulate a proper response to the flood of calls that we know are going to be coming in as our friends to the east start to cope with this.
And so you guys, before the storm, or during that first part of the storm, you guys suspended and talked about not putting your people in danger. Can we expect that in the future? What will we see when that second band comes through?
We've got a very short window of time. We've got a very short window of time right now to get out there and do our initial damage assessment. As the second band comes in, we're gonna reevaluate and shelter in place as needed as our crews are out there exploring. So, of course, our personnel safety is paramount importance. The public's safety is also of public importance, and they need to do their own part.
And so why is it so important for these people to stay inside their house, stay in that shelter?
Because we're not clear yet. Simple as that.
And so what pieces of advice would you tell everyone who might be watching this and say, oh, I think I'm going to go out and get that picture on the beach?
Don't. Stay off the beach. Don't even come out here and look at it right now. It's not time. It's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow, and we've got a lot of cleanup to do. So we need people to pull together as a community and get together on this cause to be supportive of each other and stay safe. Don't become part of the problem.
And what is y'all's plan of action once the storm passes?
To assess the damage, of course, start mobilizing and formulating our response, and just start getting our support ready for the people who need it most.
Have you guys had anything alarming or concerning in that first portion of the storm?
Just down power lines, a few trees, and a few medical calls, but nothing too serious yet in our county. So,
what are you guys expecting for the next portion?
We don't know yet. We're just starting our assessment.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Keep us safe, keep us up to date, and hopefully you guys will stay dry as well.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm News 13's Peyton Locicero. We wanted to give you an update from South Walton, from the Edwin-Beach access, to let you guys know what's going on. Again, just like David had said, this is kind of the calm in between the storm. We're about to have that second band of the storm hit this area. So if you're out on the roads, you're trying to get over that Clyde B. Wells Bridge that is now open, now is your time, your window of opportunity, but it's very short, maybe 30 minutes. So get to shelter, stay dry, and get where you need to go, and then don't leave. Stay put. I am going to throw it back to you guys, and I'll have another update for you guys here from South Walton in just a little bit. I'm News 13's Peyton Locicero.
So again, the big message here, shelter in place. Even if it looks okay, if it looks like the storm has passed, shelter in place. Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and to everybody watching tonight, that information, of course, still applying to now. One of the things that we've been wanting to talk about for the last half an hour or so, one of the reasons that we're able to get such accurate weather data consistently as the forecast models tend to agree is because of the hurricane hunters.
That's right. So NOAA's hurricane hunters, in case you didn't know, they are now based here in Lakeland, Florida. I had the chance to talk to them today. I actually, as I got there, they were landing from their last flight. They had just flown into the eye of the storm, and they just said it was incredible. The one person that I spoke with, he said, you know, he's been flying missions 10 seasons, 10 hurricane seasons, and this storm, there was nothing like it. He basically said as they looked out, they saw it intensifying before their very eyes, something they've never seen, you know, getting more intense as it approached the coast. Normally you see it kind of weaken as it gets close, so take a look.
We were there as 18 NOAA hurricane hunters landed from their latest mission.
Some are very rough, some are very tame. Michael was rough.
A direct flight into the eye of Hurricane Michael.
We have 3 different radars on board. This one's giving us like a 360-degree view.
It's Ian Sear's duty to head straight into the storm.
Hurricane Michael is a doozy of a storm. It was rapidly intensifying during the time we were out there. The pressure was falling, the winds were increasing. Most hurricanes really are not that turbulent. This one, we got bounced around quite a bit, multiple occasions.
He's flown into hurricanes for 10 seasons, and he's never seen one quite like this.
This thing developed so fast that, and moved so fast through the Gulf of Mexico that's all the time that we had to investigate it.
Spending up to 8 hours up and around Michael with every flight, hoping to keep people in its path safe and gain better insight for the next.
It's that data that we are collecting that we're trying to understand how does a Hurricane Michael happen, and so that when the next one comes, the forecasters and the researchers can provide even better forecasts.
That is something he kept reiterating. They didn't really see this storm develop. They didn't even start flying into the storm until Monday. So they only got to fly, I think they said 7 missions. Normally they could fly up to 2 weeks. So they flew 7 missions from Monday to today. So only 3 days to really collect information. And as I mentioned beforehand, they really just saw it get more intense. Even today, they're looking out, collecting the data, and they just see how intense it was getting, and they were worried, and he said, his thoughts and prayers to everyone in his path. They knew it was not going to be good.
Yeah, and when you see in the event of a major hurricane or a major tropical storm, you see that forecast model tend to shift, and you wonder what is dictating the shift in that model. It's the information that's collected by the hurricane hunters, the crews that are going into these hurricanes to use all their various instruments to collect the most precious weather data needed to predict which way the eye of a hurricane or the center of a tropical storm is going to turn. I learned that last year from riding with, I actually really didn't understand the purpose of the hurricane hunters until I rode with them. I actually rode into Hurricane Irma, and understanding what they go through. That was at Kistler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. That just it gives you a whole new appreciation for all those people and what they do. And really, it's about gathering the data to keep us safe.
Well, and they say it's like a bumpy roller coaster ride. I think that's kind of an understatement, especially because some of the planes that they have, like they have a jet, Gonzo, that plane will go up and above the hurricane. The fellow that you just saw in that story, they were on the plane that goes through the eye, just like you experienced. They go through the eye. I mean, that is the most bumpy, turbulent. He said this was one of the more turbulent flights that he was on, that gentleman that you heard just there, he's a meteorologist and the flight director. He said this was probably one of the worst flights that he was on. It was bumpy a lot, and you saw the little map there. I mean, they just circle in and out and in and out, and they're just dropping
make all those
drop
passes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they're just trying to collect as much weather data as they can. And he explained, you know, satellites, the clouds block satellites, so that's why they have to go in and fly really right into the storm to collect the weather that they can't get from the satellites.
Yeah, and from being on that flight through Irma last year for 12 hours, there's one picture that I can paint for your mind. It's that when you go into a hurricane, it's just you look out the window of your plane, you just see gray. You don't see anything because you're in the midst of all those bands of clouds, and then after 4, 5, 6 hours of flying, you get into the eye of the storm, and everything opens up, and it's like, you know, hairs on the back of your neck rise up because you just think, wow, here I am, I'm literally in the center of a hurricane. So, and that it's in the eye itself, as you noted, where it's the most important, where the weather data is collected that can dictate which way a storm can go next.
And something totally interesting, they tell me sometimes when flying through these storms, the planes can be struck by lightning.
That happened to me.
Did it? And that's why that reminded me, because you said the hairs kind of stood up, and that's what happens, the static electricity. They said you can feel when it's coming, your hair stands up and everything, and it's like nothing you've ever experienced.
You can't really explain it. But let's actually switch gears now, because Governor Rick Scott has been providing constant updates throughout the day, the governor of Florida, for those of our viewers if you're tuning in from Alabama or Georgia. And Governor Rick Scott, this was his 6 o'clock update earlier. Now we want to just let you know before we hear from the governor that a lot of this information is a couple of hours old now, so there might be some outdated information here, but for the most part, what he says, the message that he wants the residents of his state and his neighboring states to hear, is still very accurate.
Yeah, shelter in place. Here's what he had to say.
This afternoon, Hurricane Michael made landfall near Mexico Beach in Bay County as a monstrous Category 4 storm with winds of 155 miles per hour. Following the landfall, I requested that President Donald Trump issue a major disaster declaration to allow federal resources to flow quickly into the impacted communities. I spoke with the President earlier today, and he is committed to make every federal resource available to help the recovery. Hurricane Michael is the worst storm that the Florida Panhandle has ever seen, and one of the worst power storms to ever make landfall in the United States. We heard of significant impacts at Tyndall Air Force Base and many communities along the coast. As Hurricane Michael continues its destructive path through the Panhandle and leaves our state, we're turning 100% of our focus on search and rescue and recovery. But we need every family to help with this. Listen to local officials. We could still have flash flooding and tornadoes. We heard of 2 devastating tornadoes in Gadsden County. The weather is still extremely dangerous. Do not take a risk. Be safe. We also need people to be very safe with generators. Do not put a running generator in your home. It is not safe. Do not get out on the roads until you are told it is safe. We need the roads to be open for first responders and search and rescue to do their jobs and save lives. If it is not safe to leave your house, don't leave it. If you and your family made it through the storm safely, the worst thing you can do now is to act foolishly and put yourself and your family in danger, or keep law enforcement and rescue workers from saving lives. Our law enforcement and first responders are heroes and are leaving their families to help others. We cannot thank them enough. As I said earlier today, we are deploying a massive wave of response. We will be sending help from air, land, and sea. This includes thousands of responders for power restoration, medical search and rescue, law enforcement, food and water distribution, and every other critical resource. I was briefed by the U.S. Coast Guard today, and they are pre-positioned in Tampa and Mobile with critical assets and resources. Along with our thousands of rescue workers, local law enforcement has nearly 1,800 personnel ready to deploy. Right now, utilities are reporting more than 192,000 homes and businesses without power. We'll have updated numbers out to you throughout the night. So let's all stay safe, stay alert to weather updates, and watch this storm closely through the night. The entire nation and world have watched as this monstrous storm has devastated our Gulf Coast and Panhandle. The love and support we've received from so many has been overwhelming, and we are greatly appreciative of all the resources and prayers that have been offered. On behalf of the Gulf Coast and the great state of Florida, I want to thank the nation for your prayers. Following the storm, we must all come together and work together. During disasters, Floridians take care of each other. We saw this after Hermine, Matthew, Irma, and Maria. Floridians are strong, Floridians are resilient, we will recover, and we'll do it together. Florida is unbreakable, and we'll get through this together. Hurricane Michael cannot break Florida. Visit floridadisaster.org for information on shelters and emergency assistance. You can visit fl511.com for current road conditions. Families can also call the State Emergency Information Line for assistance. Follow at FL-CERT or FL-GovScot on Twitter for live updates. El huracán Michael es una tormenta muy peligrosa. Escuche a los oficiales locales y mantenga a su familia a salvo. Tan pronto pase la tormenta, tendremos un esfuerzo masivo de respuesta para enviar ayuda tan pronto sea posible. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Governor, have you heard any reports of any fatalities at this point?
We don't know. We don't have any confirmed reports of fatalities right now.
And what's the earliest that search and rescue teams will be heading out to the field?
We're sending them out now. Search and rescue start out already. And we'll have, I think we talked about earlier, we've got search and rescue that will be coming primarily from the north down towards the coast. And then we've got the Coast Guard coming from the Tampa area. I think they're in Clearwater, and from Alabama, and they will be doing our coast.
And so, is there a specific area that they're concentrating on right away or first off?
We've got teams. We broke it up into regions, and we have teams going down, and I think it's about 8 regions.
And just along all the impacted
areas? It's going to be coming down, and so they'll meet up. So we're clearly getting information where there's problems. Bay County's got problems, significant problems, and so we're dealing with them as quickly as we can. But we've already sent teams already starting.
There were concerns about local readiness based upon what you've seen. Were counties, do you think, prepared for this storm?
It came really fast. The first thing, I wish everybody didn't evacuate. So I'm still praying that we didn't lose anybody. That was disappointing to me that everybody didn't evacuate. I think in every storm you have to assess after you get finished. I think everybody should do it locally, federal and state. You say, what could we do better? So we'll see over time. If people were ready, but we. This was a big storm. You've seen a lot of the videos that are out there. This was a big storm, and we've got significant damage in some places. So we'll find out over time.
We'll take one more question, Governor. There were several prison and detention facilities in this area. Some of them had made arrangements beforehand. Not all of them did, though. Have you heard from those facilities in DOC? What's their status now that this is starting to clear out?
Sure, we've heard some different corrections and prison facilities, and we're following up and trying to make sure everybody's safe.
Well, those facilities are still intact, and there's been no issue at those.
I can give you. We have some damage at some facilities. What I've been told so far has been some roof damage, and so we're sending teams to make sure everybody's safe.
But as far as the inmates are concerned, they're secure.
I've not heard anything that they're not. So no, I have heard that there's some damage in some roofs, and so, but there's, as you can expect, there's a lot of, if you look at the path, there's a lot of roof damage in that path. So, the big thing right now is we're getting feedback where we have problems. We are sending search and rescue teams right away. So people they're very aggressive right now. These teams are getting out there to assess the damage and to provide any resources that anybody needs.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
And some people, of course, riding out this storm from hotel rooms in Panama City.
Yeah, you can see the damage all around. Our reporter Dave Huddleston from WSB in Atlanta, he shows us some of what he's been seeing.
Sorry, I was not ready for that. I was mid-thought on something else.
Jason, what's next?
Back beyond over here, I'm looking at a post office sign. You can see that's already kind of tilted. This is getting closer to the water where there's not as many trees to potentially block any of that wind. So we just want to kind of give you one look at what we're seeing there as we walk back over towards the area where we came from. Our ground zero, if you will, in the downtown area, really along Harrison Avenue, is where we saw a lot of the damage. So again, Panama City has definitely seen a lot of power outages. We have no idea the extent of those power outages just yet. The communication's been very difficult because for the most part, Verizon cell phone service has not been existent by any means other than sending a quick text, and sometimes that's difficult to go through. We've not been able to get a whole lot of cell phone service out of here. We came in from Birmingham, from Alabama yesterday. Saw a lot of people leaving. Look at this sign, Grace Avenue.
Wow. Just tons of damage
on the ground.
Around
we came
City
in from
Beach.
Birmingham yesterday.
He's
Saw
about
a lot
a
of
mile
people
away from
evacuating and leaving, but there were plenty of people that still stayed. They didn't seem to think that this was going to be that big of a deal, that big of a storm, and we are just hoping and praying that those people were able to stay safe during the storm, as there's another sign that's just blown down. This is obviously part of the historic districts, or the old City Hall and the McKenzie House here in the downtown area. So again, just kind of more evidence of the wind strength here, as we got some more surveyors coming behind us, kind of looking at this damage as well. And then you can see that the alarm lights are flashing here in the First Baptist Church. Obviously they're out of power as well. They had alarms going off. We could hear those earlier today. So lots of damage. We're still kind of getting our heads wrapped around this as well. We were trying to walk in a couple of different directions just to kind of let you guys see as much as we can. If you can bear with us for a few moments, we're going to try to walk back to the front of our news station here and see if we can show you some of the other locations just north of that. So again, this is the main downtown area of Panama City that we really were in the middle of this hurricane. We heard the meteorologists here saying that we were right by that eye wall, right by the eye wall, and so there was a period of about an hour where it was just very intense. We had a couple of live broadcasts earlier today on WIAT in Birmingham, where we were able to show you just some of the debris literally just flying down the streets of the downtown area during this hurricane. A lot of the trees that we watched swaying during our broadcast, now gone, snapped in half, no longer where they were. So again, we're now walking back up towards the television station. You can see there's an AT&T truck right here. Obviously, they're trying to make sure that everybody has communication signals, that kind of thing, to get in touch with loved ones. So as we walk back up here, it's our understanding that there is a lot of damage on this side as we get closer to 7th Street. Again, we showed you this church over by the SunTrust Bank building that we want to go. We'll let you learn a little bit more about. So we're seeing that there is a couple of people here surveying. This is some of our team members here from our sister station, WMBB. There's somebody here riding his bike, kind of getting a look around. Again, we want to walk back up towards 7th Street and kind of give you another look at what we're seeing on this side as well. We're all safe. Everybody in the newsroom had some tense moments. Look at this, stained glass, SunTrust, stained glass. I'm not sure where it looks like it came from, that where the SunTrust logo is right there on the top of the bank as you kind of walk a little bit closer there. So obviously strewn about to the other side of the street. You can see that this for sale office space available sign was just bent. The wind changed directions multiple times. If you can, I want to show you the steeple here at this First Baptist Church. You can see that there's one piece that's still kind of hanging by a thread, so to speak, at the top there. You can kind of see it rustling around, and there's several buildings that have similar damages where we just see small pieces that are just kind of hanging, and we're hopeful that the structural integrity hasn't been compromised to where that's going to be an obstacle or a potential hazard for someone else if that were to fly off. But damage really everywhere. Again, we're walking back up towards 7th Street and Harrison Avenue. This looks like an old school building of some sort. Again, we are from Birmingham, and we're kind of learning our way around town too as far as some of the historical buildings. But this looks to be an old school or a courthouse perhaps, but you can see the flag that we were talking about earlier that's just hanging right here, the flagpole in the middle of this property. Looks like it is an old education building, Presbyterian educational building. And then look off to the side. Look at all the damage to the stairwell, and then all the bricks and the rubble just below it. Just incredible. Not really any information yet from officials about injuries or worse. Unfortunately, like we've said, communication's been very difficult to come by, so we are hopeful that we can get updates for you on how people are doing. I know that some viewers have questions about where some of this damage is, how some of their particular communities are faring. We are working to get those answers at WMBB and CBS 42 so that we can pass that along to you through our different various news outlets. If you can, hopefully you're able to watch this on a streaming device. I know that we've tried to get folks to charge their batteries, and it looks like we may be without power for a few days, if not longer. So make sure that you can stay informed about what's going on. You know, there's the potential for trees to come down with more wind, for gas leaks, for other problems over the days ahead. So make sure that you're connected as best you can to get help if you need it. So again, this is the First Presbyterian Church. The top of this is gone. Wow. Top left of that building just completely off.
The back side of the church.
It's the same, yeah, that's right. Will's mentioning this is the back side of the church that we showed you earlier from the different side. So again, when we saw that from the other angle, it's the same building, but this is the back side of that church. Wow. And then here we are on Magnolia Avenue. Some houses, just absolutely heartbreaking. We can only hope that everyone is okay. See if we can walk up here a little bit more. This greenhouse right here has a lot of damage. It looks like that's either a carport or an awning of some sort that's just kind of caved in here at the front of the property. Another HVAC unit here just sitting in the middle of the street. Look over here, Will. More pieces of fabric or roofing material that are wrapped around trees. Just damage everywhere. See someone else out here. I don't know if this is someone who lives here or not. We'll see if we can go talk with her. Again, here's the greenhouse that we mentioned a few minutes ago. Doesn't look like there's a car there. We can hope that there's no one in the house. We'll have to check on that individual here in a minute. This house here is boarded up next to us, and you can see the trees in this yard are just snapped all over. I mean, look at this. You can tell that the wind was going in that direction just because of the way that they're all bent backwards and the limbs have fallen on the roof of this house. And so if the base didn't get you, it was some of the limbs and the treetops that did. Just awful. Again, here's one woman here. We want to make sure she's safe and not near any power lines or anything that could be hazardous. Ma'am, I'm sorry to talk with you at a difficult time. Do you live out here?
Yeah, that's my home right there.
Do you mind talking with us?
No, that's fine.
I'm so sorry about everything that you've had to go through today.
Yeah, it's really devastating.
How are you?
I I just didn't think it was going to be this bad. I've lived through a lot of hurricanes in my life, and I just never thought it could be this devastating. I've never seen it this devastating.
Are you and your family members okay?
Yeah, we're all physically okay. Just our property is completely destroyed.
Yeah. And you're not alone. We talked to a lot of people out here that said that they had been through other hurricanes. They, didn't think that this was going to be that bad. Yeah. When did you make that decision that you just were going to ride this thing out?
Well, we own a business, so we were staying open to sell hurricane supplies to everyone, and so then it was just too late. The roads were flooded. Everyone was trying to get out of here. I think everybody kind of made a last-minute decision to leave, but unfortunately, we decided to stay. And before we realized, and then when it started hitting, I mean, it was obviously then too late. So
I know you live here. We were just down the road at WMBB. We lost some of our roof. We lost power. It was frightening for some of us in the station. What was it like for you? What did you see? What did you hear? Where were you?
We boarded up some of the windows, but we ran out of boards, and it was too late to get any cuts. So some of the windows went out, and the flooding started. And as you can see, all the shingles are pretty much gone, and the tree uprooted. And fortunately, I think our vehicles are okay, so that's one good thing. But I was mostly worried about all my neighbors' trees here. As you can see, when I saw them starting to bend, I thought it was going to be towards us, so then I just thought the house was going to collapse, but they fortunately bent that way, and we knew he wasn't there, so we know everyone's okay.
Do you know if your other family members okay? Have you been able to speak with them?
No, I have no cell service, and I have, obviously no internet. The power's down. My family lives in Niceville, so I don't know how bad Niceville is impacted, and I haven't been able to talk to any of them.
Do you need anything? Is there anything that y'all are trying to do right now? We have very limited communication, but anything we can try to do to reach out to anybody?
Well, as of right now, since I can't drive, obviously, the streets, we're going to walk to our business, and hopefully our business is still standing. We don't know yet. So that's basically what we're trying to assess right now.
For those who don't live here and didn't go through this today, as best you can, describe what Hurricane Michael was like for you and your family.
I mean, I've been through some scary things in my life, but this was pretty much up there, definitely in the top 10. The sound, that's really what is so scary. Everybody told me, oh, it'll sound like a train. But it wasn't really that. It was just the sound of glass breaking and everything hitting the windows, and our roof is partially collapsed back there. You can't see it from the street here. And my dog, I have a dog, and he was freaking out. So, yeah, but we have our lives, and that's all that matters. And, unfortunately, living in the Sunshine State, it's not always sunny. So I'm just going to try to keep a positive attitude and start to clean up and try to get back to normal life. But as you can see, my town, it's gone. It's flattened. It's going to be a lot of work, so to get this place back up and running.
I am so sorry. I can't imagine what you guys have had to go through. We'll be definitely keeping you guys in our thoughts and prayers. Is there anything else that you want to say about this? That we've got an audience all over, beyond just Florida.
I hope that my family over in Niceville is okay, and hopefully we can get cell service restored soon so that I can be able to talk to some of them. So.
Would you mind spelling your first and last name for us so we know how to spell out?
Yeah, it's Stephanie, Stephanie, and Cordray, Cordrey.
Thank you for talking with us, Stephanie. Again, very sorry for all that you guys have had to go through, and we'll be keeping you all in our thoughts. If there's anything that you guys need, we're right down the road at the station. I know you guys are getting ready to walk out yourselves, but we have a limited way of kind of doing some communication. So anything we can do to help, just come by.
Thanks so much.
Yes,
I really appreciate it.
Sorry again. So if you guys are listening in or just joining us, that was just one of the homeowners here. She thought that this was going to be okay. She heard that she made the decision to stay for business, and that was what she and her family decided to do. And they said by the time this thing had really intensified, it was too late. And that was the fear of a lot of the people we talked to last night, was that this thing was intensifying so quickly that maybe by the time that some people had been lulled into thinking that this would be a smaller category storm. That decision was not made in enough time. And so that's what some of the people told us, is that by the time they really got thinking about it, it was too late to do anything. So again, if you're just joining us, we're in live downtown Panama City. This is Magnolia Avenue and 7th Street. This is one of the worst damaged areas that we've seen today. This is the First Presbyterian Church. Just the entire top of the roof, what is over the sanctuary, gone. And then over to some of these other, what looks like an annex building or another part of this building. The roof is just gone from that as well. We walked that way earlier. I'd like to see if we can kind of walk with folks down this way. We saw a dollar store down this direction, and I believe that this is the direction of the hospital, and so we want to make sure that we're checking on the conditions there. But again, just look at all the damage in front of this building, all wood and siding, just devastating. This church has obviously been standing for quite some time, plenty of history and memories, I'm sure, for congregation members, and this is going to be a difficult part of this process, to see their church home like that. You can see the front of the door just opened here. Doesn't look like there's anybody inside. As we're going to continue to kind of walk back here and show you some more of what we're seeing here in Panama City. Wow, this is obviously continuing to be part of that church property. And Will, if you can kind of look, I thank you for pointing those nails out. We got debris here with nails in it. Look at the top of these windows. You see the debris that's kind of just caked on there. Just, when we had so much rain and so much of the, tree debris that was kind of being thrown all over the place, it was thrown into every window. When we were watching it at the television station, we had leaves and sticks and stems just kind of being plastered right there onto the window. So just so obvious of how high a lot of that debris got in the air, how fast it was moving with the wind speeds. We saw a couple of transformers blow. In fact, I heard one across the street from the station, and that's about the time we lost power, so I can only imagine that was related. And so obviously you can see that there no one has power in this area here. Not sure if this home is lived in or not. It looks like it's under construction, so we're not sure if someone currently lives there or if that house was under construction. We've got another gentleman up here that's on his bike. We've seen a couple people on their bikes today. Obviously very difficult to try to travel by car with a lot of these streets blocked with trees and power lines all over the place. So some folks are just getting around any way they can. You okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Like I said, just want to make sure everyone's okay. We are kind of walking back towards the dollar store that we heard got some bad damage, and so we want to make sure that we show you that as well. I think this is another AT&T truck. Like we said, the cell phone service has been spotty for a lot of people. You just heard from the woman down the street that says she's been trying to reach her family in Niceville, kind of over by Destin. She's been unable to do that because of the cell phone service. So take a look at these trees here, just kind of resting on this building. Just more evidence of how strong the storm was. Damage to the inside of this, I'm not sure. It looks like it's with some type of police substation. In fact, we can see several police bikes here in the front of this window. And then it looks like to be some maybe a Segway of some type of police equipment back there. Plenty of damage there to this front of this building. Like I said, it looks like some type of police storage area, a substation of some sort. And then, I mean, as if you can imagine, the glass to all these windows just shattered. You can see the glass is just kind of gathered here on the front of this property. Not any signs out here, so not too sure what this building is. There you go, Panama City Police Department. So it is some type of police building. Again, we saw some police equipment in there, so one can imagine that is what it's for. Oh wow, and here's the dollar store. We saw this from across the street and we wanted to kind of get a look at it, and goodness gracious. Top of that roof looks to be gone as well. We're going to cross the street here safely. Give us a second to make sure we get through this debris. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, it's just caked up. You've got this, the this is ceramic of glass of some sort, just completely blown through this window. You can see how high the water is in some of these buildings. Obviously, the roof is leaking, and so water's been coming down since really 8 or 9 o'clock this morning. This is the dollar store again. We want to give you a look at. Saw some folks walking through some lines that were down. Again, don't touch any of those lines or get near them because that can be a hazard. You guys okay?
Yeah, my house was destroyed.
Oh, was it?
That's our part right there.
Can we talk to you for a second? So sorry to hear about that. How far away did you live from the downtown area?
Right down Cone Avenue.
Can you point to us?
It's about 3 blocks down.
What happened?
A hurricane destroyed it. The roof come off, the porch gone, the whole house collided. It lost everything, clothes, furniture, everything.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody okay.
Talk to me about where your head's at right now with all this.
My head's all right. I'm living. I'm like the Phoenix. I'm right from the flame.
There you go.
From the flame, right from the flame.
Did you ever expect it was going to be like this?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
If you could do it over again, would you leave?
Oh, yeah, but we was at work. That's why I have a chance to leave, pack up everything, and leave.
Talk to me about that, because I think a lot of people, when these storms go through, they rush, and they say, well, why didn't anybody leave? But we talked to several people today that whether there was a business decision or they couldn't afford to pack up and leave, it's difficult.
Yeah, I could afford to live, but I was just at work and didn't have time to prepare for it. Just came on its own too quick.
Gotcha. Well, again, we're very sorry about what you guys have had to go through. Would you mind spelling your first and last name for me?
Travis King, Travis-King.
And how long you lived here in Panama City?
All my life.
I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
It's refreshing to have your attitude. Thank you, Mr. King. Another man here we met in Panama City that's lost his home. What an attitude. Just happy to be alive. I can't imagine losing my property and everything that I own. Wow, as we walk up on this Family Dollar, you can see that the one side on the left almost looks like it hasn't been touched. You can see that the in and out door is intact. There's no glass broken or anything. And then we walk to the other side and it's blown out. There's nothing at all by way of where was glass protecting the front of the store or the entrance right here. All of that is now in the store, along with several of the wow, yeah, there's a piece of the roof right here. You can see just how heavy this is. I mean, this is wow. So on the inside here, you can kind of get a look at what's hanging from the ceiling. We can imagine that there will be several curfews put in place as the city officials get around town and survey this damage. Again, communication has been very difficult to come by right now, and they've got a lot of other bigger priorities, I'm sure, than worried about curfews at this moment, but that's something that they're going to have to be looking into later. Obviously, they got to protect the properties and the businesses that do have things here, but this is just so sad to see so many businesses and homes impacted. I think the one thing we've seen more than anything has been HVAC units and air conditioning units on the floor, on the street. Over here, if we can kind of look to the right, we see another piece of that metal just wrapped around a tree. I mean, these metal pieces of siding of buildings and all sorts of material were just flying around today. When we were doing our live shots, we saw multiple pieces of debris just kind of rolling through the downtown Panama City area. So we hope that none of that debris was causing of any injuries to anyone. And then again, as we're kind of back in the dollar store parking lot, we've got brick, I mean, just all over this parking lot. Saw another gentleman over there, not sure what he's doing. We were going to try to talk with him, but we're going to see if he's still around or not. Again, this is a store that is closed, so I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. There are several homes in the back of this property by the Dollar General that are gone. There's a roof that's missing from the top of this home just in front of you. Lot of roof damage. Wow. Well, if you can kind of take a look behind us, look at this structure across the street. There's just one piece of wood that's kind of still hanging on there. Not exactly sure what that looked like several hours ago, but again, just it's incredible to see what is spared and what is not by Mother Nature. So just devastating all over, every way we look, and we're just glad to see that So far, everyone we've talked to has been okay. Obviously, just glad that they are not harmed and that their family members are okay. And then the biggest concern for people is not being able to talk to family members, not being able to communicate. Will, this caught my eye. Beyond the distance here, y'all, if you can see in the building, there's the top of another large building with columns, some type of historical building here in Panama City, and there is a bunch of damage to the top of that roof as well. I mean, it's fair to say that there are definitely more structures and properties in our vicinity that have damage than don't. I've yet to see any property that has been untouched, whether it's siding that's missing, an awning that's gone, brick that's out. There has been some remnant that has been left of the storm in every building that we've seen, that's made it obvious that this was a catastrophic storm earlier today. As you see, another piece of metal just kind of wrapped around this pole. It's everywhere, and we are just in a very small couple block radius of the downtown Panama City area. Again, we're nowhere near the Panama City beach area. Look at this car. Look at this car driving right here. No windows at all. The glass has just been blown out completely. Don't know if that was sitting in a driveway or parking lot and had that just blown out from the wind, or if there were debris. But as we've shown you, the bricks, the rocks, the shingles, there have been all sorts of options for possible debris hazards that could have injured people or damaged property. I'm sorry?
What station you guys were?
We're with WMBB in Panama City.
I was walking around the whole time during the hurricane, so I got like unbelievable footage. I'm a freelance photojournalist. I've been through 4 hurricanes and stuff. If I'm trying to upload it, but my phone's like not really working. Okay. I was gonna go to the hospital. If you guys want to get a picture of my name, you guys might want to share the video later.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're safe.
Yeah, because the footage that I got was like...
We just talked to a guy who was also taking some pictures and video during the storm. We didn't want to be out in the storm. It was too dangerous for us to be outside in it. So we were obviously hunkering down in the television station where it was safe. Law enforcement was just very adamant about how dangerous the conditions were and how things had deteriorated so quickly, so we wanted to make sure we were listening to them. Hey, Will, if we can walk down Magnolia Street with me. I just noticed this is that hotel that we mentioned earlier when we were kind of showing you the first time, and so we've seen several of what appear to be hotel patrons kind of outside surveying what's going on. I can already see several of the windows to this motel that have some damage. The far one on the left here, you can see they're kind of looks to be airing it out if that wasn't done by the wind. And I'll see if we can get us a little bit closer to this property. If they ask us to leave, we certainly will respect their wishes. We don't want to show anybody that is in a difficult time that doesn't want to be shown or talked to, but wow, just a lot of damage here. You can just kind of see the bikes for children. Not sure where that was originally, but it's here now. Lots of damage out in the front of this hotel, and it definitely. I mean, here's the front of it. Look at the top. It says hotel, and you've got several of the letters on the top of the roof facing the sky. We're going to continue down Magnolia here, and this is what's kind of been incredible. We talked a minute ago about not seeing a lot of properties that were untouched. This is one, at least from this side, that doesn't look like there's a whole lot of damage. We see the metal protection that's kind of been put up there, so it's just crazy to see what is impacted and what is spared. Here's kind of that window we were talking about. Not sure how that happened. Here is the looks like an AT&T center. We see several AT&T trucks. So again, hopefully that's good news for some of the people that have not been able to get cell phone service, not been able to reach their families. Hopefully these crews are working on getting that restored so that people can make contact with their loved ones and let them know if they are okay. Check out the fence here, as if the trees and the metal siding wasn't proof enough of how strong the winds were. I mean, this fence is just leveled. It didn't stand a chance. Several pieces of windows. I mean, this is the side of a window that came from who knows where. More pieces of the metal siding just wrapped around these tree branches here in front of you. This has just been an incredible sight this afternoon in just this short area that we've been walking. We're going to head back towards the station and get some of this footage together for you for our newscast this evening. We want to make sure that we're giving you the latest information from the officials. We're going to hope that some of them have been able to get some of their communications devices working again. So we'll be going back to our headquarters at WMBB here in Panama City to check in with some of our colleagues to see what the officials are saying about the damage, about any injuries or any other damage reports that we need to pass along to viewers both here in the Florida Panhandle area and anywhere else that may be affected or watching this coverage. So we appreciate you guys kind of walking with us here and taking a look at this. We hope that y'all will keep everyone in your thoughts, as this will be a difficult coming weeks for the folks here. We've already heard people estimating how long it will take until they get power restored, until they get any of this stuff cleaned up. Folks, it's going to take weeks, months. There's this Panama City Police Department building again that we showed you earlier that was damaged and had a lot of window damage and what looked to be equipment damage to segways and police bicycles as well. Here's another power pole just snapped here at the base. Wow. Again, we're not going to touch those because we want to make sure that we are safe and not in harm's way. But quite a bit of damage in Panama City. We're going to, like I said, check in with our officials and make sure that there's no new information that is pertinent that we don't need to pass along to you. So for now, we are going to go ahead and end this broadcast, and we will check back in with you later on this evening. But for now, in Panama City, Michael Clark, CBS 42 News, local coverage you can count on.
And there you have it. That was one of the Facebook Lives that we had from one of our Next Star reporters there. Just surveying some of the damage in Panama City Beach. Really just incredible stuff. That was from earlier on today. And if you're just joining us here, I'm JB Buno in Tampa, Florida at WFLA News Channel 8. We are broadcasting tonight on behalf of our two sister stations that are having broadcasting difficulties in the light of Hurricane Michael, this historic storm that has ravaged through the Florida Panhandle into southeastern Alabama, and now making its impact felt in Georgia as well. So if you're just joining us, we are broadcasting for all those audiences out there who don't have access to those stations, and hoping that everybody out there is safe tonight. I hope everyone is doing okay. So we're going to actually show you here behind me just some of the information that we have on screen. Some people have been asking about this in the comments section on Facebook, asking about, like, hey, what do we do if we are out of power? Hopefully by now you have found that number, but if you don't, we want to make that information readily available to you. Companies like Gulf Power, Duke Energy, Florida Power and Light, Tri-County Electric, City of Tallahassee, Georgia Power. These are the numbers here on your screen. We'll leave them up here for a second, so if you need to grab a pen, paper, if you need to screenshot it on your mobile device, you have the opportunity to. We're going to also read just through some safety tips here to help protect yourself in the event of a power outage. These are from the experts. Of course, you want to stay away from fallen power lines and do not have anything, as well as anything in contact with the lines. You want to keep your freezers and refrigerators closed. Only use generators outdoors and away from windows. Do not use a gas stove to heat your home. That is a big no-no. Disconnect your appliances and electronics to avoid damage from electrical surges. As you see, a lot of these tips related to appliances and what you have in your kitchen. Of course, check on family members, neighbors, make a plan, move them to a safe location in the case of an extended power outage, which is what some people might be experiencing, and report all outages and hazards to your utility provider. Easier said than done when we're having such difficulty with communication, with internet being down, with power being out in a lot of places. So that's what we're dealing with tonight. Everyone's going to bring up just another clip here, everybody, just so we have something here going on behind us. But, one of the things that we're going to be seeing now in the coming hours and in the coming days, too, we're going to start to see those aerial images when we have choppers, when we have planes, and we even have drones flying over the impact area, over the disaster zone there on the Florida Panhandle. And those are the images that really hit you, and you really get an idea as to how catastrophic a particular storm was. And we're going to really see it with how historic Hurricane Michael has proven to be. And one of the things that you really don't grasp from those aerial images when you see dozens, hundreds of times of homes across a particular affected area is what happens to those individual homes. What is going on in there when they are flooded to an enormous degree. So what we want to do is we want to take you to Panama City. One woman showed us the extent of the damage caused by the storm surge there with Hurricane Michael, and she's giving us a little bit more of an in-depth look as to what is going on in her home. Take a look.
This is Sophie's room and the attic access, which is now inundated with water. It's raining now, and the entire house is possibly flooded. The hallway's leaking like crazy. I have water coming out of my ceiling fan. My bed's wet and gone, so I'm never going to sleep on that thing. But this is my house. Nice and wet and just wonderful. I think the only part that isn't leaking is in the shower. Thank God for renter's insurance.
Really just crazy to see the effects that water can have. Chief Meteorologist Steve Jervey has been talking all day about how catastrophic that much water can be when it affects a neighborhood or even a singular home, as you saw there in that case. So we're going to be moving on here to the next story. There's a crew over at the Panama City Marina, or at least we had a crew at the Panama City Marina today. We're going to go to them for a look.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly Grossfield, Carly Massetti. We're down at the Panama City Marina. I don't know if you can hear us, and I don't know how long you'll have us, but we're going to show you, there's Jordan, we're going to show you the damage.
We're at the Panama City Marina right now. This is what it looks like. The water has completely washed up.
We have boats washed up. Look at this water. The docks are completely submerged. It is so windy out here. I really hope you can hear us. Also, if my parents are watching, I'm fine. I couldn't get a cell signal until now, just in case anyone can hear. Alright, so here's what we're looking at on Facebook, the Panama City Marina. Anyone who didn't bring their boat out of the water, it's washed up. We even have some in the parking lot right here. Now, we know where this water line normally is.
Wait, check out these waves too, crashing up again.
Yeah, check out these waves. We're gonna walk over. Wow. We have so much debris out here. Oh, wow. All right, we're at the Panama City Marina. This boat is just washed up. I see you just joined. Your office lost some windows. And your ceiling, your roof is kind of caving in. Alright, well, we're going back to the marina.
And there you have it. Just a look from one of our crews on the ground. Again, that was at the Panama City Marina. I don't know if you caught it, Melissa, but at the beginning of the Facebook Live, you could just see like the wind hitting them in the face, almost as if they were like sticking their head out of a moving car on the highway. It's absolutely crazy to see.
And that just goes to show you how strong the winds are. Again, we've been saying they hit the coastline. The winds were about 155 miles per hour. That is just incredible.
You just don't see those wind speeds ever. So it's really eye-popping. I'm also told that this drone video that we're going to be looking at here is pretty eye-popping too. I think this is a late addition to.
Basketball. Wow.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Rip the roof right off. Look at that destruction. So that is a basketball gym. This is drone video that you're looking at right now.
And if I can confirm with our producers, I believe this is Panama City.
Okay, we're not exactly sure of the area, but we can tell you. And look at the water. You just.
Yeah, I mean, really, look at the hoop. I mean, look at that coming down from the roof, and the drone flying into the gym after all the damage to the exterior of the building. That is unbelievable. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. It doesn't look to me like a flimsy structure at all. That looks like something pretty sturdy, like a major structure. And this is the first drone video that we're seeing. So aerial video can really provide quite the perspective when it comes to storm coverage, especially the aftermath of a storm aftermath of a storm hitting a particular area. So it really just surreal to see.
Incredible. Can you guys hear me? I know I'm having a little bit of mic trouble here. Can everybody hear me? Okay, there we go. We are back. All right, so next up, this is what we are going to look at. Actually, let me grab this. So we can confirm one person is dead after this storm. Those numbers may go up as we get service back, cell service, power back, and as search and rescue efforts continue. But we can confirm one man has died, a Greensboro man. A tree fell in his home, and also first responders, they had difficulty getting to his home. So unfortunately, one person we can confirm passed away from a falling tree.
Yeah, and you know, another injury that we didn't get to talk about a little bit earlier, but you know, News Channel 8's Corey Davis was there. I believe he was in Panama City.
Yes, he was in a Holiday Inn, I think, a
hotel, and he was talking about that there was a baby that was hit by some shards of glass. You hate to hear about that. Luckily, the injuries were just minor, but for a child that young, that just really terrible, and you hate to see anyone that young being put in danger when it comes to a storm of this magnitude.
And they were further inland, so I think they thought that they would really be safe, that they would be out of the storm. I mean, our crews, they booked hotel rooms there because they thought, okay, we're going to go report on this storm. We're going to be safe where we're at. And we showed video. I mean, windows were blown out. They were evacuating the hotel. There was one, it looked like several windows, like a big square, blown out, and that's the last thing you think of that would be affected would be a hotel that was, you know, further inland. But it just shows how strong these winds were. We're going to show you Corey. This is again our reporter Corey Davis, who was riding out the storm in a hotel in Panama City. So we're going to show you that video right now.
Right now, the winds of Hurricane Michael are bearing down on areas of Panama City. We are in a secure location next to our hotel in a large truck. Take a look here at just what's happening at the moment. It's been like this now for a little while today. People are bracing in this area, this entire hotel filled with evacuees at the moment. The power of the wind, unlike anything to hit Panama City and the Florida Panhandle. Hurricane Michael making landfall, ripping off pieces of buildings and busting out windows. Evacuees piled into this Holiday Inn in Panama City, babies and young children terrified. Many families huddled inside a dark ballroom hoping for the best after the power went out.
Mirror my family. I got an infant, him, and my 8-year-old daughter and my wife.
Joey Lindsay tells us his home about a half a mile from a nearby bay will likely be destroyed.
So far it is pretty cool to watch, but then again it's very extremely dangerous.
But thankfully they weren't alone.
We're search and rescue. Natural disasters, search and rescue.
Members of America's Cajun Navy from Lafayette, Louisiana, also staying at the hotel. They brought people in who waited until the very last minute to leave from Panama City Beach, which was under an evacuation order.
We've been across the bridge in Panama City Beach pretty much all morning.
John Billiot, president of the Cajun Navy, has been through many storms since Katrina 13 years ago, but Michael has delivered the scariest moment yet.
We just come back. I mean, there was well over 100 miles an hour winds on the bridge. I mean, that big 5-ton right there, it felt like the front end was coming up off of it. I mean, I've never been scared a day in my life.
Only time will tell just how bad the loss of power will be. We will continue to keep you updated. For now, we are in Panama City. I'm Corey Davis.
Well, as Corey said, a lot of folks are without power. Our last numbers that we got in, 388,000 people without power. Just incredible numbers, and that might even continue to grow. The problem is folks are without power, they're without cell service, so we're not even getting a full report really on what's, the severity of this.
Yeah, and even though Governor Rick Scott mentioned that he has 19,000 power-dedicated personnel ready to assist those areas of the hundreds of thousands of people who have lost power, who are in the dark tonight, it still could be days because of the transportation difficulties there on the Panhandle, especially with so many roads that are impassable.
Right, so the message here really, as the governor said, stay put, stay hunkered down, and really just wait to get the word that it's safe to travel on the road. So we want to show you some video now of a Waffle House. Take a look at this. Wow. This is a Waffle House in Panama City. As you can see, wow, that large pole just fell on top of it. Wow.
Not the Waffle House.
Yeah, and we did a story.
That's the last, oh, people need Waffle House after a major disaster. This is terrible.
Well, and we covered.
I'm being half funny, but also half serious, because sometimes you need to get a meal if you're stranded and you need somewhere to go to get some food. And Waffle Houses, we've seen after major disasters, being really popular spots to go, because if they get up and running, they can feed people. They can feed entire communities sometimes.
Usually, Waffle Houses stay open, and we did a story today because a lot of the Waffle Houses closed ahead of the storm, which is not like Waffle House. Normally, they stay open. They're one of the only restaurants open in a hurricane for people to go and get food. So, again, thank goodness that one hopefully was closed. We definitely did do a story today on that. A lot of them were closing, which is not like Waffle Houses. So
the good news about Waffle House is that there's a lot of them. I'm willing to bet that there's going to be a couple more out there that you can go to.
Yeah, just not in the worst hit areas, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so you hate to see that happen, but hey, listen, this is what's going to happen in the aftermath of such a terrible storm with so many homes destroyed. People are going to seek help out there in their communities.
So the slightly better news is that the storm is now a Category 1 storm. So Michael is now Category 1.
Yeah, and WMBB's Ashton Williams has an update for us from Jackson County.
Hey guys, Ashton Williams in Jackson County. I am finally out of emergency management, not far. However, I'm only probably not even a quarter mile down the road. But I just want to show you guys, we are out and trying to figure out the situation. Like I told you guys earlier, everybody at emergency management was stuck. From what we can gather, pretty much everybody in Jackson County, they're struggling with getting off their roads and getting into town and checking on people. However, law enforcement doesn't want you to go out. Officials do not want you to go out. There are still power lines down. I'm standing inside the truck right now simply because I am not comfortable with stepping over power lines, because I like I told you guys earlier, I'm a little afraid of electricity. However, I'm going to turn the camera and show you that, there are crews out working. I hope you guys can see all of these lights down here. That is Highway 90 in Marietta, so we're working to get down there. But those are crews. We've got some public works people, trying to saw some of the trees down and try to. I honestly don't know who's out on Highway 90, who that is, trying to get in here to let some of us out, but we are working to make it out to sea, sort of give you guys an update on what else is going on in Jackson County. I do want to let all of you guys know I've had several questions about what is going on in other counties surrounding, and I've had questions about Holmes, Calhoun. I honestly have no idea. Because of our station being in Panama City and it being down, being off air, I have not had the opportunity to communicate with any of the people there, as well as anyone else. I'm stationed here in Jackson County. We've got a reporter in Walton and Okaloosa, and then the other reporters are all in Bay County. So nobody is over in Holmes or Washington or Calhoun, so I really can't tell you anything about those areas. However, I do know that the way this looks right here is if it hit any of those areas even half as bad as it did right here in Marietta, then there's probably a good bit of devastation there as well. However, I do just want to let you guys know we are out. We are working to get roads cleared. It's going to take some time. Like I said, you still do not need to be out. You do not need to be getting in your cars and trying to work on anything until we make sure that all the power lines that are down are no longer hot. That is the first step, and honestly, at this point, it's dark. You're not going to get much done anyway. We will keep you updated. There is a crew coming this way. I'm going to show you again. I don't know how well you can see what's going on out here. I'm in a truck. Those dots, all those dots are men with flashlights and vehicles. I am on, I believe it's called Panhandle Road, where Jackson County's Emergency Operations Center is, the road that they're on. And we're working to get to Highway 90 up here, and this is sort of how it looks. I wish, let's see if I can turn the flash on and sort of show you guys. Maybe you can see, this is a tree beside me, down beside me. This should be a sidewalk right here, but covered with trees. You know, we've got a backhoe here. Trying to get us out and see what we can get figured out with the rest of this area. I promise, any information that I get, I will let you guys know. I do know, I did hear from Superintendent Ralph Yoder over in Calhoun County, so I do know this much. School will be closed Friday in Calhoun County, and then obviously for those students, fall break is Monday and Tuesday. I guess depending on some of the damages, they will keep us updated on what goes from there. I have not heard from any of the other schools in the area yet, but as soon as we find out that information, we will let you guys know. Again, just stay inside for right now. You know, maybe come morning you can get out and check your property. Maybe we will have everything cleared, and not everything. Don't let me say that. Maybe we will have the okay that it is safe to sort of get out and be around and start getting these trees and all this debris cleaned up. But we will keep you guys updated. I'm gonna let you guys know again, all of you that are just sort of tuning in, I am in Jackson County. I haven't had communications with hardly anyone at my station because I guess cell towers have just been sort of off it because of the storm. Over here at Jackson County EOC, I haven't even been able to send out any texts or anything for a while, so haven't really had any communications. I don't know what it looks like. No, do not return back home yet. Demetrius just caught your comment. Don't come home yet. I'd give it a day or two because there's trees, stuff everywhere. Just stay where you are at this point. I haven't heard anything about Graceville just yet. Haven't heard anything about Bascom. At this point, I don't know. I've been stuck at Jackson County's Emergency Operations Center since about 8 o'clock this morning and haven't been able to get out until now, and I'm still not far. I'm less than a quarter mile from there, waiting for the roads to be cleared. But as soon as I get a little bit further and can find out any information, I'll let you guys know. Stay tuned. Maybe some people can send me some pictures and I can attempt to post those. And also, I want to let you know that I see your comment, Philip. EOC has not had communications with hardly anyone either. Internet, everything's been out. We haven't been able to see much from anyone. We do know that the worst of the storm is through our area, but it is going to be a struggle, and it's going to take a lot of hard work to get all of this cleaned up.
Again, that is the issue that they are facing. Many do not have power, hundreds of thousands without power. They do not have cell service. That is actually why we are here. I'm Melissa Marino. This is JB.
And we're here on behalf, we're simulcasting tonight for multiple stations that are having technical difficulties tonight due to the sheer strength of Hurricane Michael. Those stations being WMBB, Panama City Beach, and then our friends WDHN in Dothan, Alabama. So our thoughts are with you guys. We hope that we know that they are struggling right now to get everything back up and running so that they can resume their broadcast operations in their respective towns, in their respective regions.
In the meantime, we want to make sure you are safe, informed, and we continue to update you on this storm. So now we're going to go to some video. This is in Mexico Beach. This is one of the first areas when the hurricane made landfall. So this is damage you were seeing in Mexico Beach. Look at that. This is actually a home, from what we understand. Someone allowed us to use this video. They took this as a home that the winds just really shredded this home to pieces.
Yeah, this was actually one of the first videos that we got in after the worst had cleared through Mexico Beach. And you know, you say it's a home, it might be a home or several, because the amount of debris here that has washed up. We were talking about the floating debris being a major problem there in Mexico Beach earlier on in this stream, and there you see just the sheer amount of it. It really is, it's unbelievable.
And you're seeing, excuse me, I'm actually gonna.
And what we're working on right now is we're trying to get you guys a press conference with the latest information that we can try to bring up here on the machine here behind you.
But in the meantime, we are going to check in with one of our reporters. So Hurricane Michael has become deadly. At least one man is reported dead from this monster storm. Hundreds of thousands of people are without power. The latest number, over 300,000 people without power. It could be weeks before the lights are back on.
So we're going to send it over to Natasha Chen for the very latest.
Hurricane Michael made history as it slammed into Florida's panhandle and swept across the southeast.
Hurricane Michael is the worst storm that the Florida panhandle has ever seen, and one of the worst power storms to ever make landfall in the United States.
The catastrophic, fast-moving storm smashed homes and businesses, knocked out power, and inundated towns with water.
Devastation. This is total devastation.
Just before making landfall, Michael intensified with sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Michael became the strongest storm to hit the continental U.S. since Hurricane Andrew 26 years ago.
We were all praying as my stepfather and brother were just watching the window.
Michael continued its historical path, becoming the first major hurricane to track into Georgia since 1898. But the destructive storm won't be done anytime soon. Michael continues to pack powerful winds and threaten people's lives. Now those in Michael's wake are left to pick up what the monster storm left behind.
There's going to be an amount of damage that we have not seen, in living memory in this part of the country.
In Panama City, Florida, I'm Natasha Chen.
All right, we are going to go right now to an EMA press conference that's going on right now.
We believe it's in Dothan or southeastern Alabama. Take a listen.
Decreased cell service because of the amount of usage in the area. So I think everything went extremely well from a communication standpoint. Yes, ma'am.
Will you guys be having another press conference at all in the future to talk about now that, daylight gone out, this is what we see?
I believe we will, probably tomorrow afternoon. Much like we had to delay this one to get real numbers, we're hoping to have a lot of the damage assessment done by mid-morning. So I'm hoping by mid-afternoon we'll have some better reports for you. I will surely get that out to you as soon as we have a good estimate of when that time will be. I don't want to give you a certain time and then have to delay it again. So yeah, we are planning at least one more to kind of wrap up where we're at and shut down operations.
Do you know what winds topped out at?
I don't. I know that I saw some, at one point we were having gusts of 65 miles an hour plus. I'm not sure if that was exactly the highest. Director, did you hear? Yeah, I think we had 65 plus. I don't think we reached 70, but I know we had 65 mile an hour gusts here sustained around 50 for a little while. Yes, indeed. We had I know 53 sustained for a period of about an hour or so that we were really monitoring very closely our response. Remember, we talked about how we have to very closely monitor response for first responder safety when we get to that number. We were right on top of it and managed that very well. Anyone else? Again, we could not do what we do without your help in the media. I know that every citizen out there is looking for information, not only from us, but from their friends and family in the Panhandle that have been impacted. Everyone's done a tremendous job, and thank you for helping get our message out to help keep the citizens and visitors of Dothan and Houston County safe. And with that, we'll close. Thank you, and have a good night. Be safe. Stay home.
All right, so we are now going to take a look at some video near Panama City Beach. Take a look at this. So this is in Callaway, Florida.
Look at that. Look at, oh my. I mean, you don't really understand what we're talking about until you really see video like this from the ground. This is a shopping center, a Goodwill, a Beals, an H&R Block. All were part of this shopping center that was absolutely destroyed.
And as you can see, underwater as well.
By Hurricane Michael. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's the parking lot. Shoppers, I'm sure, frequent in this area all the time, but now this entire structure here in ruins due to it. And we were talking about it earlier, you know, the wind gusts there in the triple digits, almost borderline a Cat 5 storm. One of the strongest storms to ever make landfall in the southeastern United States, and this is what we're seeing. This is the ramifications of the circumstances.
Total destruction, and of course the floodwaters. We showed some video just a bit ago. I mean, the houses were just completely surrounded by the Gulf, essentially. I mean, and that's what we have to worry about after the storm, the flooding, the storm surge. That is the big issue, and that is what authorities are worried about. And again, they're saying stay off the roads. You don't know if there's power lines, trees down. They want the roads clear right now for first responders, even if it looks like, hey, the storm has passed, leave the roads, just stay off the roads because of authorities, is what they're saying.
That's the message being communicated by local leaders in all 3 states right now, Florida, Alabama, and then Georgia. And we're going to hear it now from State GOP Representative Neil Dunn. He is the state representative for Panama City. He spoke earlier about just some of the early trouble that they've had. We told you earlier on tonight that there were some rescue efforts that were underway as early as this evening. There has been some difficulty. They're trying to get the people stranded. Let's take a listen to Neil Dunn.
Certainly we have injuries, a large number of injuries. We're concerned about the risk of fatalities because the nature of some of these injuries are being, frankly, there are some buildings that are collapsed. So, you know, we haven't had a chance to get into those buildings because the roads are still being cleared.
Scott says there are, according to the governor, there are 3,500 National Guard members on standby to assist with rescuing those who were injured or stranded during the storm. So that is what authorities, what first responders are dealing with, and that is why they want you to shelter in place, even if it looks like things are okay. Resist the urge to go out and check out the damage right now. Stay in your homes and let first responders do what they need to do and make some rescues. You're seeing some just incredible footage of what the winds have done to a number of buildings along Panama City, Mexico Beach, Callaway, Florida. We've shown.
And it's not just businesses and structures, too. I mean, you're looking at the car damage, too. Transportation, obviously, is extremely important. And, I mean, we saw cars there that had punctured tires, I mean, and some of them with entire fronts missing. We're seeing cars that have been crumpled by trees and power lines. So a lot of transportation damage in addition to all the infrastructure damage that we're seeing, especially across the Florida Panhandle.
Well, and there's obviously, this is an understatement, there is going to be a lot of cleanup. So we want to show you video from Dothan, Alabama that was taken a little earlier today. Crazy.
Bye, Felicia.
Wow.
Get down. Busted the power line.
Wow, look
just
at
happened
that
to
tree.
be rolling. Whoever was on their smartphone there just was shooting some video from outside wherever they were, and then they just capture that tree just coming crashing down. Again, this being in Dothan, Alabama. So we keep hearing about the Florida Panhandle. We keep hearing about places like, Mexico Beach, and we keep hearing about all these places like Panama City Beach. We're going to go to Mexico Beach.
Wow, look at this, all this water. This is actually
Finish
Mexico
up
Beach.
that point, though, is that we're seeing it widespread throughout many different areas, a lot of damage like this. But yes, this is Mexico Beach now.
Look at this. So this looks to be a marina, maybe? Is that what that is right there? But you can see, homes surrounded by water. Wow, look at all that. That was a home, or maybe more than one home, that we were talking about. The winds completely destroyed that home. That is just in pieces. And unfortunately, that is what a lot of people are going to go home to when they are able to safely return home. So a Jacksonville TV crew is reporting from Panama City, just the strength of the winds. They really were able to capture that.
It's incredible video. Take a look.
We are in Panama City Beach. We are in a parking garage. We are on the 3rd floor, and you have thick concrete in this stairwell. About 400 yards this way is the Gulf of Mexico. In between the Gulf and us is a 30-story condo building. Even an hour ago, some of the doors in that condo building were being blown open. The fence gone. We saw some roofs come down. We saw, obviously, signs come down. There's no power in here. We're running off a generator. And look at this. This is nature's fury, probably like Floridians have never seen before. We were talking with law enforcement last night, even today a couple hours ago, and they're asking us what to expect. We're asking them what to expect because no one has seen this in this part of Florida. The eye wall coming through right now, making landfall in Mexico Beach. That's about 45 minutes from where we are. We're told the winds are 155 miles an hour. 157 miles an hour is what would make it the most powerful category storm, a category 5. So right now you are looking at the strongest, most powerful category 4 hurricane to exist. And this is one for the history books. This is going to be a record breaker. And unfortunately, we are so very concerned for those in the path.
Just incredible to see the fury of Michael. So where is Michael now? That is a great question.
Yeah, we're going to send it over to Storm Team Nate's meteorologist for an update as to where the storm is now.
Hey guys, thanks very much. Meteorologist Steve Jervey along with Julie Phillips here in the Storm Team Forecast Center here in Tampa. And we've been continuing to watch the progress of the storm. This is a Category 1 hurricane now with 80-mile-per-hour winds. I'd like to ask our director to take Weather 4 as our source so we can explain what's going on. We'll start first with the radar, and it shows you where the storm is located, moving up into Georgia. As of the 10 p.m. Eastern time, the storm was assessed to be a Category 1 hurricane with 80-mile-per-hour winds. So it is still a hurricane in the central part of Georgia, a long way away.
And we actually just got in the 11 p.m. update, Steve. Just
perfect.
Coming in now from the National Hurricane Center. And maximum winds now have dropped to 65 miles per hour.
Okay.
So it has dropped to tropical storm strength now. Still moving off to at about an 8-mile-per-hour rate. So it's relatively decent there. We can see that, oh, actually, this was a different update that came in. We're still waiting. So still a hurricane as of last update. That was Nadine out there that just came in.
By the way,
so
Nadine
we're still waiting on the 11 p.m.
Nadine
update.
is not going to be a factor. It's closer to Africa, and it's going to stay out to sea.
Yes.
As well as Leslie. But yes, so we're still dealing with a Category 1 hurricane, but we are expecting an update here, and we are likely going to see a weaker system because deprived of the energy from the Gulf of Mexico that it saw earlier today, which allowed it to get to 155 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center at landfall. The storm is obviously going to weaken, but it still does have some pretty decent wind gusts in here, especially for inland sections that aren't used to this type of tropical weather in this kind of location. But this was a storm that had a lot of power and carried that momentum pretty far inland and moving that quickly. And it has been moving very quickly, and thankfully, because the quicker we get this thing out of here, the better. Although it has caused, as we've seen in the reports, a lot of damage in the path of the storm, as we would expect from a near Category 5 hurricane. The current location centers it roughly with the stronger wind gusts just south of Macon, around the Perry area. Still has that familiar counterclockwise rotation as an area of low pressure. And we can see the distance from Dothan, and Dothan is really dried out, thankfully, but probably still has some decent breezes in that area, about 100 miles roughly from the center of the storm and where it's located currently. And let's draw a line to Panama City as well to see how far the storm has progressed since it made landfall shortly before 2 o'clock this afternoon east of Panama City. So it's made about 166 miles. The storm has, shrunk. We still do see a few rain bands even developing. You can look out of the Atlantic around Savannah, Georgia, but it goes all the way into the Gulf of Mexico still. So it's still drawing some energy, does this large area of low pressure off the Gulf and also off the Atlantic, which isn't unusual. Still have to watch for the slight possibility, too, of tornadoes in these rain bands. There's a lot of wind shear that spins off of these storms, and wind shear, winds that change direction with height as you go up in the atmosphere, that tends to create a spin, and that can create tornadoes. And we've seen tornado warnings even in central Florida, where we are, in Sarasota County, but we also saw some northeast of Gainesville, west of Jacksonville, and others as well. And that's why the tornado watch has been placed still in advance of the storm, because of that instability that caused by these tropical systems that move inland. So the rain is coming related to the storm all the way over to Savannah currently at the moment.
All right, and here's that latest track update. Of course, we're still waiting for the 11 p.m. advisory to come in, but right now you can see that storm still well formed as it moves off to the north and east at 17 miles per hour. Through Georgia, the storm is going to continue to weaken as it continues to move farther inland into the Carolinas as we head into tomorrow. Then by Friday morning is going to be out to sea. Here is the current track of this storm system. You can see right now would be near the Macon area as we head through the overnight hours, and then pushing into South Carolina tomorrow morning, and then by 2 p.m. Thursday closer to the Raleigh area before continuing out at sea. Well, let's zoom in on that one. Got a little far out there.
Meanwhile, in space.
Yes,
right.
It's continuing.
Well, yeah, this
right.
is the storm is reacting in its movement to an upper level trough, and you'll probably notice, well, you will notice in the areas of Panama City, Dothan, within those TV markets, that you'll definitely see cooler, drier air built in. Once this pulls out, there's a lot of dry air back to the west. Essentially, you're going to see a cold front, so a big temperature change. This is a water vapor imagery, and it measures the amount of moisture in the atmosphere at the mid and the high levels of the atmosphere. And you can see in Jackson, Mississippi, how dry it is high above. Well, this is basically at the surface coming with a cold front too. So this is really going to be refreshing after dealing with this nasty tropical weather and this destructive, horrible storm to bring in for, thankfully, more stable weather for the recovery efforts that will be ongoing here for the days, weeks, and months ahead. But for now, that will be nice to help lower that humidity a little bit once we get this storm out of here as it moves on that track across the Carolinas quickly. By Friday morning, Julie, this storm is forecast to be in the Atlantic.
Yes.
And could gain some more strength, but at the end of this forecast period, it's almost to the United Kingdom. That's how fast those upper level winds will carry the storm away from the United States.
That's the one of the positives with the storm. It wasn't like a Harvey or a Florence that sat there spinning and dumping a ton of rain. We didn't see that with this storm system, but we did see rapid intensification as it quickly moved to the Panhandle, and then of course incredibly strong hurricane force winds, and then also the storm surge. That's really what left behind it. The National Hurricane Center, as of the last update, did say that the storm surge was finally starting to recede in places along the Panhandle, so places like Panama City, Mexico Beach. We're showing you the current wave heights. Those definitely have come down in the last several hours. We've still got an onshore flow, kind of that southwesterly fetch, so probably higher than normal tides, but in terms of the storm surge, what they were seeing before, it is definitely going to be continuing to come down at this point in that area.
We saw in Panama City when that storm came ashore within the eye wall, and Panama City was in the eye wall, and that's where the most intense winds are for a landfalling hurricane. But just west of there, a lot of areas saw offshore winds. In other words, winds coming from land going out into the Gulf of Mexico. So the winds would not be, just factoring in the momentum of the storm, as bad, but they still had some very strong winds. And then east of the landfall, we're talking about Mexico Beach and Port St. Joe and all the way over to Apalachicola and beyond to the east. Those were the areas for big storm surge concern. We've not seen a lot of video out of these areas, probably pretty tough to access if that was a pretty severe storm surge, which we expect it may have been. So by tomorrow, the light of day should reveal a lot in that area. We'll try to get our helicopter up there to try to get some imagery. That is our hope, to try to report what kind of impact from the storm surge, which is very difficult in these hurricanes when it builds up, especially a large geographic storm over time, to build up a storm surge. And the bathymetry and the depth of the water in there, it really doesn't allow a great scenario for a lesser event. Sadly, it's probably a fairly large storm surge, so we're waiting to see pictures of that area and understand the damage estimates from that area.
Right, we're still waiting for all those full reports to come in. You've seen with the different reporters out there, it's tough for them to get around right now to actually access the damage and then to actually have cell phone service to send it back for anyone
and
to
there's
see.
no power, there's no light,
yeah.
there's no anything at this point, and this goes on for a period of time after these storms. I'm sure crews will be in there almost immediately, coming from all over different states, federal efforts as well to try to get things back to normal as fast as possible. But this area will be feeling the effects of this storm for a very long period of time. And right now the current effects are being felt in Perry, Georgia, up to Macon and Dublin. This will move very close to Augusta, probably weakening as it goes. We're still waiting for the official word from the National Hurricane Center as to what the storm currently is. We'll continue to watch for that and report on that when we get it.
Yeah, it should be in within the next 10 minutes or so. And this was really, a lot of folks you've been hearing saying, we didn't think it would be this bad. And this storm really was historic. It was one for the record books in many different facets. It's the strongest storm to hit the Panhandle, the only Category 4 to make a direct landfall in the Panhandle, according to our record book, since we've been keeping them. So also it was the third strongest to make landfall in the U.S. in regards to the minimum pressure. Made landfall at 919 millibars. So the only storms greater than that, Camille, and then the Labor Day hurricane as well. And then was the fifth strongest in terms of maximum winds at landfall. So 155 mile per hour winds. The storm, unfortunately, just continued to strengthen all the way up until it made landfall earlier this afternoon. And it was just shy of a Category 5 storm strength, but it was, 155 mile per hour winds there. So just, obviously devastating, especially for the areas that took a direct hit on that eye wall where those most intense wind gusts were felt. And
we knew that they were sampling, NOAA was sampling this storm very highly to try to get exactly the idea of how strong this storm was right before landfall, both with the P3 Orion prop plane as well as the G4 jet, trying to gather as much data as possible. So we know that was happening. So hopefully get as best accurate forecast as possible. And they said, hey, right before landfall, this thing has 155 mile per hour winds, just 2 miles per hour shy of what an official Category 5 would be. They'll continue to look for, as I mentioned, for weeks and months at the damage and try to assess the intensity of the winds based on the damage. So this story will continue to go on, but for now we know we had a major Category 4 at the very least landfall with winds, and we're waiting to see especially the results from the reports east of the Mexico Beach, in Mexico Beach and points east of that as the impact Apalachicola from the storm surge today.
And we know those wind gusts were also observed at the surface incredibly high at Tyndall Air Force Base. They observed winds 129 miles per hour. And also Apalachicola, Panama City, and Mariana. You notice we look at our max wind gusts and also the current winds. Those stations no longer reporting. They have been knocked out, which is, apparent obviously when you have winds of that strength rolling through. It's definitely a possibility that can happen. And again, made landfall just before 2 p.m. This afternoon. So as we, continue to track the we just had the 11 p.m. update come in. Steve?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's now is 75 miles per hour, down to 75. Still is officially holding on to Category 1 hurricane strength over central part of Georgia as a Category 1 hurricane, a 75 mile per hour. Still the same forecast that we've been talking about, moving off to the northeast over South Carolina, North Carolina, and then eventually back into the Atlantic Ocean. So it is holding on to Category 1 status as of 11 p.m. We're going to get ready for our local news here in WFLA in Tampa. And guys, let you know that we've got to get prepared for that newscast. But the story will go on, and you're doing a great job of telling the story. This will, hopefully, the light of day tomorrow, because of the power outages, will reveal a little bit more about the story, about the impact from Hurricane Michael.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, and that's one of the things that we were talking about earlier, Melissa, was just that, we're going to really have so much more to show you once we have daybreak tomorrow.
And tell, because a lot of people are without power. They're without cell service. So, we're kind of just getting these scattered reports and scattered videos and picture really. Tomorrow, I think we'll have a much better picture of how extensive the damage is. And something that we're dealing with this storm is tornadoes touching down. So the National Weather Service issued tornado warnings in Georgia as Michael passed through. In fact, local media has reported perhaps 3 tornadoes touching down in that area.
Yeah, we're just getting this in from an AP News alert giving us the latest information. News media in Macon informing the Associated Press that by early evening Wednesday, tornadoes had touched down in 3 places. Now, if you're in the Georgia area, or if you're familiar with the Macon, Georgia area, those areas are Roberta, Perry, and Fort Valley in the mid-state region, again in Georgia.
Yeah, and we are hearing that a tornado possibly damaged 5 homes in Roberta. So again, that's something to be looking out for is the spawning of tornadoes, which of course Steve and Julie were talking about. They are dealing with tornado damage, at least 5 homes, knocked down power lines and trees. Luckily, no injuries reported from the tornadoes that we've heard so far.
Yeah, and we've heard this, storm teammate meteorologists tell us that tornadoes, with any hurricane of this magnitude, can be a factor in certain areas and hotspots. So there were the warnings out there. You can't obviously predict where and when a tornado is going to pop up, but mid-state Georgia is where we're seeing a lot of the reports coming in from. So hopefully, that there isn't too much loss of life, too much damage there. And of course, the prayers go out to all those people in those affected areas. Just another wrinkle to this story.
Right. And of course, we are seeing a lot of devastation throughout the Panhandle. So we are going to look now with Brian Todd for more on that.
Tonight, Hurricane Michael is ravaging the Florida Panhandle.
Hurricane Michael is upon us, and now is the time to seek refuge.
Heavy rain and sustained winds pulling homes apart, flooding rivers, ripping railings from the ground, collapsing beachside homes, leaving a wake of destruction in its path. The Category 4 storm picked up intensity in the Gulf as it barreled inland, making landfall with winds of up to 155 miles per hour.
Oh my God, it's starting.
The eye made landfall around 12:30. The storm's biggest threat is the devastating flooding it brings, with expected surges as high as 13 or 14 feet. The streets of Apalachicola already dangerously underwater. The northwest coastal town hit with a 6-foot surge even before Michael made landfall. Responders unable to reach those in need as waves crashed down along and on top of major highways.
There is going to be a killer storm surge in this event. 9, 10, 11 feet, no one's going to survive that. Low-lying areas, the Gulf of Mexico is kind of like a basin of water, all being pushed up on people. And if you're still there when that comes in, you're going to die.
Florida officials hammering home the message. The storm surge alone can kill you, but it is now too late to evacuate.
The time to evacuate in coastal areas has come and gone. The worst thing you can do now is leave and put yourself and your family in danger.
So as these winds kind of barreled through these areas, we have seen the roofs of homes just ripped off. We've seen homes completely destroyed.
Yeah, and we have an incredible look here from inside the hurricane with this happening. Take a look. That one clip with that entire warehouse, it looked like a warehouse roof getting just torn off, like you were like peeling the cover off of butter or something like that, or something out of your refrigerator.
Tuna can.
Like a tuna can. I mean, just unbelievable.
That is what 155-mile-per-hour winds do. That is it right there. And it's not only the winds that are a concern, storm surge. That is a concern right now.
Yeah, and it's been a concern. We knew it ever since it became a Category 3 storm, a major hurricane. We knew that the storm surge was going to be significant, especially for whatever coastal communities were in line with where the storm was going to be making landfall. So we're going to go over to Gary Tuckman. He has the latest from the Panhandle after Michael passed through there today.
We actually moved to a new city not far from Coffeyville, Panacea, and I'm going to tell you why storm surge kills and why it could still kill tonight. This road, and it is a road, it's called Surf Road, ironic name. We drove down this road about 7 hours ago before the storm hit. It was an 8-mile drive, and it was fine, and now it's become a lake. As a matter of fact, behind me, it gets to about 5 feet deep. And the problem is there's no barriers here whatsoever. And the sun sets about 3 hours from now. And someone could come down this road, and the speed limit here is 55 miles per hour, and just drive into this water, and their car can float away. And that's why storm surge is so dangerous. And that's why so many people were concerned about it when we heard that the storm surge in this area where we are, Panacea, which is east of Panama City, where we heard it could be from 9 to 13 feet, the surge. It doesn't appear it was that deep. But nevertheless, you have water that's 5 feet deep behind me. What we saw here today, Jake, all over this area east of Panama City, was people just kind of stunned how strong this hurricane got. We and others reported that this was going to be a major hurricane, but we did not know it was going to be a 155-mile-per-hour hurricane, a strong Category 4, just 2 miles short of becoming a Category 5. Never in the history of the state of Florida, with its panhandle, have they ever had a Category 4 storm hit the panhandle in recorded weather history. And as a matter of fact, you were just talking about Andrew, this is one of the strongest hurricanes that's ever hit the United States. So people knew it was going to be a major hurricane, didn't know it was going to be this strong, but because people in Florida are so hurricane savvy, Jake, we have found, we've been driving all over, and we have found for the most part, people did evacuate. They got away from the water, and we've been through lots of small towns in this area, and most of them have been virtually empty. As long as we've been here, we haven't seen any cars passing through here, but I'm absolutely very worried once the sun sets and it gets dark that someone could drive through this water, which is now up to 5 feet deep.
Well, certainly good news that a lot of people got out of there, but as you saw, a lot of flooding, and we have some more video of flooding to show you right now.
Yeah, that was Gary Tuckman in Panacea, Florida, but one of the other towns we always keep hearing about popping up in all of these news reports is Apalachicola. And you're looking at some of the streets here.
Wow,
it
look
looks
at all
like,
that water.
It's hard to tell if that is if that's a street or part of a parking lot there.
Yeah, it almost looks like a shopping center.
Right, and yeah, you can't even
look
see
at where
the
the
concrete.
water's at. Wow.
I mean, that looks
the bottom
like
of the steps there.
At least half a foot of water there. And this again, Apalachicola. We've been seeing video coming out of Apalachicola all afternoon, all evening, and into tonight. One of the most affected areas from Hurricane Michael, along with what we're seeing out of Mexico Beach and what we're seeing out of Panama City Beach as well.
Well, and they say the flooding could even get worse. The waters could rise even more, so that's the concern. Water's rising, storm surge, that's the big concern, and that's why officials are saying do not drive, do not risk going out of your home, just stay hunkered down for now because of the flooding. You don't, and especially at night, you don't want to drive through the flooding and get caught in it.
Yeah, it's
dangerous stuff.
Extremely serious, and that's why we've been, going over and over again, going back to Governor Rick Scott, going over to emergency management officials, lawmakers who know their states, their counties, their cities, these neighborhoods, and they're advising people with stern words, letting them know the worst thing that you can do right now is try to be out in the thick of this. So,
and we talked about the debris that can be in this water. So you just saw all that water. They don't even want you, for instance, go down them steps and kind of wade in the water because there's debris in that water and there are critters that could be in that water. Just dangerous.
I mean, the Gulf just really coming in football fields in length inland and swallowing entire communities and neighborhoods whole. So one of the reporters that we have here from WFLA News Channel 8 who was out in the thick of this, that is Corey Davis. He was at a hotel in Panama City earlier today.
Right, so he was inland and, they thought obviously the storm wasn't going to be so bad there. Take a look at what happened at his hotel.
Right now we are getting a good look of the damage out here after Hurricane Michael battered Panama City in this area. I want to show you just what we experienced here at a Holiday Inn hotel off of MLK Boulevard. The walls of some of the rooms here ripped right out. Shards of glass went flying out. Some people were told were injured. This is what it looks like on this very large building at isolated spots around this building here. But take a look over here. I want to show you just some of the exterior damage too. Back here before the hurricane arrived, we could see green forest, couldn't see through, but now straight through there you can see a shopping center on the other side. Those trees totally leveled, sheared off at the top. The wind still blowing some of those palms at the moment, but nothing like before. I want to show you behind us here too, the roof of a shopping center nearby blew off. This is what it's been like around this area in Panama City, and further out, power lines are covering MLK Boulevard right now, making it impassable at the moment. And further over to the right here, linemen are positioned to go out and hopefully begin this long process of getting the power back on and repairing all of this infrastructure. We do know that this hotel is being evacuated at the moment for now. And we also know that an infant was hurt when the shards of glass blew out during that storm and hit his leg. Right now, we will continue to keep you updated. For now, we are in Panama City. I'm Corey Davis.
And unfortunately, we can report that one person has died. We are told a tree fell on a man's home, and unfortunately, that man passed away. We are also told first responders had a difficult time trying to drive to get to his home to do any sort of rescue effort because of downed trees and power lines. Certainly, we're going to hear a lot more about the search, recovery, rescue efforts as folks get more power, as they get cell service. But right now, we are trying to get you information and keep you safe, any information we can get.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the death toll expected to rise in the coming hours once first responders, emergency management officials get a better idea as to the extent of the damage, and especially we've been talking about it all night long. Once the sun rises, we're about 7 or 8 hours away from first light there in the Florida Panhandle, and and then we'll get an idea as to the extent of what we're damaged and all the people that need to be rescued as well,
right.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely more to come, certainly in the morning.
And we have some new video here from Headland, Alabama. We can take a look at this here now.
Yeah,
a transformer exploding, and
wow.
there it was, catching on fire.
And you
really
can't
crazy.
hear it, but when that happens, it is so loud usually.
Like a gunshot.
Yeah.
Or even
it's
louder,
crazy.
like a cannon going off. And this is just one of the many, many, many reasons as to why it is a power nightmare tonight on the Florida Panhandle.
Yeah.
Transformers exploding, power lines going down, there being broken wires or severed wires. It's chaos.
We are talking hundreds of thousands without power. The last number that we heard was 388,000 people without power, and it is going to take some time for the vehicles, the electric crews, to even be able to go and restore power, because as you can see, I mean, there's flooding, there's power lines down, there's trees down in the road, so this is certainly going to take some time, so just be patient. Now we want to show you something here. JB's going to pull this up. We have some numbers to report power outages, and we are also going to give you some safety tips here.
Yeah, so Gulf Power, Duke Energy, Florida Power and Light, Talcon Electric, Tri-County, I mean, all of these companies, you know your power company depending on which county or which, region you're in of the affected areas.
Who you pay your bill to.
Right. So find your power company, and if you have not already, place a phone call. It might take a while. If if it's busy, keep trying, stay on the line. And one of the things that's really difficult about this too is that we know that when you are out of power, your smartphone battery is so finite.
Conserve that battery.
Yeah, it can really be difficult. So just try to manage your mobile battery life as much as you can.
So again, 388,000 people without power. So we have some tips for you if you are experiencing a power outage to stay safe. Stay away from fallen power lines. So that is why we have been telling folks stay inside, because there are fallen power lines. You do not know if the wires are live. That you do not want to get near any wires.
Yeah, keep your freezers and refrigerators closed. We saw one refrigerator on the street earlier on today, but no, for the ones that are in your kitchen, you want to keep them closed.
Yeah, that's going to preserve your food, which is important because you could be without power for days, weeks with this storm. Only use generators outdoors and away from windows. I know we saw with Hurricane Irma last year, unfortunately, a handful of people passed away because of improper generator use. So again, outdoors, away from windows. You do not want to inhale the fumes that come from that generator.
Do not use a gas stove to heat your home. disconnect appliances and electronics to avoid damage from electrical surges. And then we're getting into the really obvious stuff here, but it is important to note, like things like checking on family members.
But don't do it now. We had some folks asking if it was safe to go check on their homes, go check on their family members. Now is not the time for that. In fact, the governor said hunker down because he doesn't want you on the roads right now. First responders do not want you on the roads right now. It is not safe, and they need the roads to go and rescue people. And of course, as we mentioned before, report the outages to your providers. That is going to help them find where these outages are, where they need to get to, and prioritize.
And we're talking about lost power, and one of the first establishments that we heard about to lose power is one of the reasons that we're actually doing this stream right now. WMBB, the next star station there in Panama City Beach, they first lost internet. And then they lost power not too soon after that, and it's been a struggle for them today. It really has.
Dealing with the hurricane, going out and trying to report, and then on top of that, this happened. So that is why we are here. We would like to bring you information to keep you safe, information to keep you informed. So we hope that this is helping, and we are monitoring the comments on Facebook, on the Facebook Live. So if you see anything or want to report anything, let us know and we'll check that out. But of course, keep yourself safe. We do not want you to risk your life trying to get pictures or anything like that. Even just telling us what you've seen, we appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you want to know how committed the staff is there to keeping you safe in Panama City Beach, if you want to know how great the folks are over at WMBB, no need to look any further than Chief Meteorologist Justin Kiefer. What he was able to do was to update folks, along with other staff members there at WMBB, on Facebook Live after they lost power. He was really trying to get information out to keep people safe. Let's take a look.
Hey everyone, this is Chief Meteorologist Justin Kiefer from News 13. The entire news operation right now is in our newsroom, and we're all in here, and right now we're all safe. We've lost power, we've lost our generator, and the wind continues to make unbelievable noise on top of this building. But right now we're all safe. We'll try to continue to update you as much as we can. Some cell service is lost, but we have some cell service on different carriers, and this is what we're doing. What would you like for me to pass on here?
The main thing, of course, Justin, is that we're all safe. Yeah. We're all fine. How long we got for this eye wall to come over? Okay. To tell people that love us and are concerned about us that we're okay once the storm passes. How much time?
Based on the last radar picture I saw, the eye was crossing the coastline to the south end of Tyndall Air Force Base, and so Panama City was in the left side of it, the left eye wall. And so as the storm moves northward at 15 miles an hour, it won't get up into the interior sections of the Panhandle for about 2 hours. At that point, I think that the weather will finally settle down a bit here at Panama City. But for the next half hour or so, we're talking about near a hurricane or above force. The storm had winds measured by Hurricane Center at 150, and pressure was down lower than Hurricane Andrew. So it came in as strong as a hurricane that's really ever hit Florida. Keep that in mind, and the strongest ever to hit the Florida Panhandle. But again, the entire news operation, everybody who unless they're safe somewhere else, in South Walton or up in the Emergency Operations Center, everybody is in the newsroom of News 13 right now. And we're doing okay. We're doing okay. And I just want to let you know that, and we appreciate it.
Tom, can you come talk to us for a minute on Facebook here?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, as Justin just said, this is an unprecedented event for all of us. I know all of you who are managing to see this, how many ever of you are able to handle this right now. This is something none of us have ever experienced before. We just want to make sure everybody stays exactly where they are right now. Do not go outside. Don't go outside at all. Wait until this thing is fully passed. Wait until everything calms down. Our emergency crews will get out there and do as much as they can, as soon as they can, as soon as it's safe to put them out there. I'm hoping that everybody heeded the evacuation orders that were in the low-lying areas. We know, though, that there are a lot of you who did not. We hope you're all safe. As soon as you can get to an opportunity to where you can, I don't know, fly a flag outside of your door. A lot of you won't have power, you won't have electricity, phone service is down. It's going to be difficult. But once things get safe, go outside, try and flag down someone in your neighborhood, passing emergency vehicles, anything you can. to let them know that you're there, you're safe, and you need help. If you're watching this and you do not, you're trying to get a hold of a loved one and you can't reach them, get a hold of authorities. Let them know you want a welfare check on whoever your loved one is. Give them the address, phone number, any information you can have. The important thing right now is staying out of the way. I can tell you right now from listening to what's going on over our roof right now, there is a heck of a lot of debris blowing out there. Please stay indoors. You could very easily get hit by a piece of this debris and it could take your life. It's not a laughing matter. This is not a thrill seeker adventure. This is not something you're going to run out and go, hey, watch this. This is not something you want to mess with, folks. This is a deadly storm. Please stay inside until the danger has passed. We're hoping, we thought, actually we would have thought by now that things would have calmed down and the eye passed over, but that has not been the case.
Well, we're just in this western edge now.
Watch that.
Listen.
The Weather Channel's reporting. The Weather Channel's reporting that this came in at 155 miles per hour, and then we have 155, and then we currently have gust up to 185.
It certainly feels like it, doesn't it?
And from what I can tell, from what we're seeing here, that's got to be verifiable.
Every bit of that.
155 is what the Weather Channel is saying this came in at, so that's about as close as you can get to a Category 5 without calling it a Category 5.
Ross, this is playing out like everybody's been talking about for the last few days. Planning for this to come in is strong. It's even stronger than anticipated. Living it right now.
I got 70 something.
Get close to it. As Tom Lewis said, the danger is still there right now, and after it passes, the danger is still going to be there as far as getting there.
All right. Well, I'm going to be the mom. I'm going to ask people to pray for us. I pray for everybody in Bay County and who's going through this. I'm scared. We're safe, but I'm scared. And a lot of folks are texting, so we're okay, but the prayers are needed. We have a good, solid evacuation plan in place. We have a strong building right next to us. If we have to leave this building, we'll go into that building.
Yeah, we're all together in the newsroom right now. We're just keeping the watch on everything.
We have a good plan in place, and we're waiting on this to pass. Justin, Ross, how long's it got before it passes? 5 minutes would be good.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I gotta say that there were 30 minutes to an hour of this weather right now over downtown Panama City.
Yeah, we were right on the northern eye wall, and we had the unfortunate ability that we went right through the western eye wall as well. So we never got out of the eye wall. We didn't hit the northern eye wall, then the center of the storm. We basically were on that pivot point of the northern eye wall to the western eye wall, and we're going to be in that until the southern eye wall goes by, which potentially with the movement of that storm was 15 miles per hour. The width of that eye wall was 15 miles wide, so if you add another 15 miles on each side of that eye wall, which is about the distance of the eye walls, we're talking about an hour or an hour and a half, maybe even 3 hours. And the last notification I got from the National Hurricane Center was that the extreme wind warning had been extended another hour. So for us, that's substantial.
What about flooding? What about flooding? We're so close to the bay.
I don't know if the storm surge.
I need to call the First Baptist too, if somebody has a cell phone that works, because mine's not
I
working.
do.
Keep going. The storm surge. I don't. This is above where that water was going to be.
23 feet.
23 feet where we stand. We'd have to see 26 foot of storm surge. It really didn't. I'm not saying it's not going to push close enough into parts of Panama City that never saw water before. But right now, I think that at this point, I think we're above the water.
Yeah, and we had a fairly strong north and east wind to start this, so that would have been pushing against the water coming in. Places down around Port St. Joe, back toward Mexico Beach, they're likely having that south wind continue to push water inland, so the storm surge isn't done there. And we were showing those wave height maps that during the center of the storm on the east side, there were wave heights up to 33 feet. So we could be talking about wave heights going into Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe, probably 25 foot waves moving into Mexico Beach.
On top of the storm surge.
On top of the storm surge.
Like you were saying, Ross, Panama City did not get a break from the storm. We're taking the north side, this back side, right, the northwest side of this, with no benefit of a
break.
No break.
Not a glancing blow. It's just we're in the grinding part of the western eye wall and remaining there, unfortunately, for it's been an hour now, and I think there's going to be another hour. where it's going to be, it will start to wane just a bit, but it's going to take at least an hour for it finally to go, okay, things are breaking loose. You know, whatever is broken off at 100 whatever plus miles an hour. The winds we'll have later won't be as strong, so, you know, things that are weakened may come off. But, you know, it's going to take at least an hour.
Will it stop and then start again, like by surprise?
No.
Not for us.
We didn't get into the center.
No, the only place that's going to happen is eastern Bay County, like Allenton. It's going to be bad, it's going to stop because the eye is going to go right over Allenton, and then it's going to pick up on the south side. But that center is also going to go up kind of over northern Gulf County. I don't know if it'll go over WeWa-Hitchcock, but it may wind up going over Bluntstown. It'll start filling in just a bit, but they'll get into a lull. So there's going to be a period for some, but it's in eastern Bay County, northwestern Gulf County, southwestern Calhoun County, where they'll have that outbreak. Everywhere else, there's no break.
Here's the fear, the catastrophic damage with this storm. Winds at 155, 155 miles per hour. It's absolutely unbelievable. It could have been horrible, but it's less than that. But the velocity, the winds, the damaging, destructive winds like that, we only saw just a little bit of the damage out there before we had to leave the studio and come off there. We don't know what lies there.
100-mile snapshot. I mean, not 100 mile, 100-yard. 100-yard snapshot. And there's roofs off and awnings off and stuff flying everywhere. Now multiply that by 4 counties. Okay. So, you know, from Franklin County all the way to South Walton's probably seeing stuff flying around. Maybe not as bad as it is in Bay County because that's where the strongest winds are. But it's the magnitude of the destruction will alter the shape, alter the picture of this coastline.
It's absolutely amazing to think about. And the danger is still there. These heavy winds, things blowing around, things you can't see. If you think you can get out to go somewhere, don't. Because it could cost your life. You have to be where you are secure and hope and pray that this thing gets on out of here quickly.
Unfortunately, we're no longer on air and able to track this moving inland. But we just got the eye wall here, but it's going to continue to move basically up the direction of 23 back toward Bluntstown, Mariana. You're still in the way of this eye wall, eventually making its way up there, and that's coming. It's moving up. We were
going
talking
right up
about
231. That western eye wall is paralleling 231. So this is being repeated for Bayou George.
And as it moves northward, Justin, the wind velocity is going to have to be affected to a degree. Still strong.
What is it?
What
is it? What's going on?
Let me jump in here real quick. The EOC, our Bay County Emergency Operations Center, is kind of dead in the water right now. So they are trying to arrange for the local media outlets to go on the WKGC studios, which is one of the lines is located up there at the EOC. And that, as soon as we can get somebody safely up there, we'll continue along that route. We do have somebody at the EOC right now. We're going to try and get them on and take care of that. I got a call from, well, I'll tell you who it was. It was CFO Jimmy Petronas about an hour ago, and said that in Gulf County, their EOC was losing the roof. Several other of their buildings were losing the roof, and I think they were headed to the sheriff's office or the jail. They're relocating everything there. So Gulf County is taking a serious pounding. There's a lot of people out there that are depending on these emergency operations officials, and they're in the same shape we are, folks. They're having the same kind of trouble we are, and they are working their best to try and do a workaround so they can get information out either directly to people or through us to people. That's why we're doing this right now. We could easily be over in a corner cowering, quite frankly, because
be easy to do.
I will tell you, I've lived through, guys and ladies, I've lived through, I don't know, dozens of these. I grew up here when I was 3 years old. I remember going through Eloise in high school. I remember Opal watching this roof right back here peel off while we were live on the air, Amy. I remember Ivan. I remember Dennis. I mean, on and on and on and on. I made the comment 2 days ago, this one scares me.
Well,
and apparently it was justified.
Do you think we're going to look back at this like it was Katrina? Similar?
This is going to, well,
that's a good question.
The difference is the flooding that happened in New Orleans we won't have that devastation, but I think we can pretty much rank this storm against any of the big ones that have hit in this area in the last 25, 30 years. Yeah.
EOC is down. Kristen just texted.
EOC is down, we know,
But I mean, if we can do anything, we can.
We're doing what we can right now, folks. We're doing all we can, but
the big one that everybody remembers, Camille. I remember that as a child. We got bands of that over here in Panama City. You know, everybody, the measuring stick used to be Camille. Then it became Andrew. Now it's Katrina. Who knows? This one may be the next measure.
Somebody just asked how Lynn Haven is. Can you explain that? We don't know how Lynn Haven is.
We don't know how anything is at the moment.
If you're out of town and you're asking for back in town, Lynn Haven's going through the same thing we are.
Verizon's
down.
Probably worse. They're
Verizon's down, by the way. They want everybody to know Verizon's down.
I have another
Towers are
request. You know, we have those of us that are here and safe, we have some savvy relatives probably, and then we have some relatives that aren't Facebook savvy. So those of you who know us and love us and are seeing this on Facebook and you know another family that doesn't know how we are, maybe you can tell them that. Yeah. Tell them we're okay. We're okay.
That's a good point. We are okay. We're just a little shaken up, that's all.
Hey, David, the network you're on is T-Mobile?
Yeah.
And is this going live or are you recording?
This is live.
Unbelievable. That's fantastic.
People are asking questions.
Yeah.
T-Mobile, we're coming for you.
Oh
and
my
we
goodness.
have response, so people are watching and listening
Right,
to us.
correct. So if you can get the word out that you're hearing and seeing and watching, in spite of my tears, I apologize. That's the mom in me, and I'm glad my kids left town. And you know what? I bet you're thinking the same thing. I wish we had evacuated. Not us, because this is what we do, but I wish more people had evacuated, or feeling that they wish they had evacuated. So after this, let this be the memory to listen to the officials for the next go-round. Gotta go.
In the past, storms had happened, but nothing to this magnitude.
No,
even though
we never dreamed.
Prior to this, from everybody here, all the media, all the authorities and everything,
We never
make your
dreamed.
plan to get out of town if you got to, go to a shelter. Now we're living it. So from here on out, everybody will definitely remember Michael and what's going on.
You know, our news director, Tom Lewis, brought up Camille. Camille had some winds that went over 200 miles per hour. So it may not reach that level. It pushed a big freighter ship up the Mississippi River. These things happened with Camille that never have happened and probably will never again. 26-foot storm surge, past Christian, Mississippi wiped off, that kind of stuff. But this is our Camille. This is our Andrew.
And we don't know what's going on now, what's happened, what's happening now, or what will happen before the storm's out.
That's right.
We won't be able to know until it's over, so it'll be a good, before we can step outside and look, 6 hours?
Hopefully before the sun goes down, we might be able to step outside.
Take a peek.
Because right now the time is, 1:30? 1 o'clock. So 5 hours, I think by 6 o'clock we might be able to step outside to where we can go, okay, wow.
You got something? What's going
Hello,
on?
guys.
Hey.
Hey. So I'm actually a Floridian, but I'll tell you what, I have never been through a storm like this. My family and my parents, they actually went through Irma, and I remember them texting me from the closet saying that they heard all the commotion going on, so kind of.
Now you know what they felt.
But they got through it, and we'll get through it. And we're here, and we're all together, and that's what's giving me relief is that we're all here together. And anytime I get anxiety, I look around and I look at my coworkers, and I think, at least we're all here together.
And Siri's joining in.
Yeah.
Siri works. Siri always.
When you least expect it, they're Siri.
Yeah.
But
well, it's good that Megan stepped up because we have a lot of young reporters who are new to this, and they've done such a phenomenal job out in the field.
Right.
A lot of them are from
Speaking
northern
of young
states.
reporter, we're going to move over a little bit.
Carly does great.
Carly did great out in the field last night, but I bet you didn't think it was going to get this bad.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I mean, we talked about it so much, so we knew it was going to get. We warned people for a reason, and one of the biggest things I heard when I was out in the field yesterday, and I was right at Mexico Beach and all through, to San Andrews Marina, was, people were like, well, we're used to hurricanes. We live in Florida, but I mean, this is way bigger than I think anything that we've seen. It's bigger than anything I've seen. I mean, I know I'm not from here, but
it's hard to imagine until it actually happens.
Yeah, and that's what we've been saying too. Though is like, it seems fine now. It seems like a normal storm. But once it's here, it's here. And there's
we're just going to go until the charge runs out.
It's different. Hey, we're here together.
We have no power.
We have a great team, and I'm happy to work with you guys. I'm proud to work with a team like this.
Oh, portable charge.
Come this way. Let's show our other reporting.
Got some other folks around here too. We're talking with Megan.
Our number one reporter.
Really wonderful to see. They were in such great spirits. They were really,
making the best
Yeah.
of really what is a terrible situation there in Panama City. WMBB again. I mean, I think they were in the basement. Was that the basement of where they were, or at least in the rack room or something?
Right, and they've probably been working around the clock. So I mean, they were happy. They were happy to be safe, obviously. Oh, and tonight we've just heard from our producers, they are staying in a church. So that just goes to show what folks are dealing with there. And again, I'm Melissa Marino, this is JB Buno, and we are here helping our sister stations out. As you saw, that is what they are dealing with. They are dealing with power outages. They are dealing with no cell service. So that is why we are here to keep you informed, to keep you safe.
Yeah, your hearts go out to those, to all the television staff, from the anchors and reporters to the photographers, engineers, everybody there, because not only are they, you know, sleeping in a church tonight and have to deal with getting their station back up and running, but you think about their homes. They're part of these communities that have been so adversely affected by Hurricane Michael, and we hope that everybody over there at both of these stations, WMBB in Panama City Beach and WDHN in Dothan, we hope that everyone's doing okay, and we are here broadcasting on Facebook and on digital for those two stations.
Yeah, both stations are out of power, out of cell service, and as you mentioned, they're staying in a church tonight. They're also probably gathering news, you know, first thing in the morning, on zero sleep, sleeping out of a church, no service. And that's what television stations do to keep you safe, to keep you informed. So we are happy to be there on behalf of them until they can get back up and running.
Getting the very latest. And we're going to get back to the latest here. This is some new Panama City video from Reed Timmer, AccuWeather's extreme meteorologist. And if you take a listen here, you'll be able to hear his disbelief to this storm's strength.
Devastating power of this hurricane. Winds have got to be over 140 mile an hour since these gusts here, as these westerlies are coming in from the western eye wall. Very intensity. Listen to that. Listen to that sound. And it's the sound of a Category 4 hurricane.
Absolutely. You can absolutely
hear almost like a fear in his voice. I mean, this is an extreme meteorologist. This is somebody who's trained to be in the elements.
He's in these storms all the time, and wow.
His voice is shuddering there. You can actually hear he's a little intimidated by the strength of the storm.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say you can see how strong it was, but I mean, you can see just how bad that wind was, and you could hear it almost whistling. So just incredible stuff here. Back in Panama City, we have some more video to show you. A gas station, I'm being told, really took a beating. Rain falling so hard you really can't even see through. Oh yeah, there you can see now the gas. Look at that, the rain, and as we were talking earlier, you can't see the wind, but when there's rain involved, then you can really see, and that's what we're dealing with there. So
the precipitation that is caught up in these wind gusts, you can see it just, you know, flying across your screen. Yeah, the entire awning there off the gas station coming off.
And we've seen a number of videos with that, and that's usually, we were talking, the first thing to go seems to be the gas station awnings.
Yeah, they're just kind of a unique structure, and they're always the first to fly away just because they're not really attached to their pillars and attached to the foundation of the gas station all that much. They're just always taking off, but
just incredible. You can't even see through this video. I mean, you can't see through the rain. It's just so crazy, and that is, I mean, that is a good idea of what it is like to be in one of these storms. Just the intensity of it.
Extreme difficulties with visibility, and this is what we're seeing here. I'm actually surprised that the camera lens here is able to pick up that horizontal motion as much as it is, considering that this camera is out in the elements. Actually, I think that was a car window. So they're in a car here, so that makes more sense as to what we're looking at, because this is these are extreme elements from Mother Nature here.
And that is exactly what we are dealing with, just the fierce winds, the life-threatening storm surge. We are dealing with flooding, and of course we are going to see just extensive damage left behind. We are only seeing some images right now. As people get more power, as daylight comes tomorrow, we get cell service, we are going to get so many more images, so many more stories coming into the newsroom.
And our network of stations, we have reporters out covering Hurricane Michael, really now the aftermath of Hurricane Michael. And actually one of the reporters we're going to go to now is from our station, WFLA News Channel 8's Corey Davis is out there bringing us the very latest, the first-hand look at some of the devastation.
Right now we are traveling around Panama City with crew members and volunteers with America's Cajun Navy, known for rescuing people. They're telling us that they've already seen houses without roofs and flattened homes as well. The damage after Hurricane Michael around Panama City is disturbing. Power lines down everywhere, scattered around like matchsticks. We hopped on with America's Cajun Navy, the group in town from Lafayette, Louisiana, hoping to help anyone they can. The view from their military-grade vehicle, unbelievable. A Firestone auto shop, destroyed. Within minutes, we came across the first person. And then came more, this time a couple with 2 young boys and a friend on a walk more than 14 miles long.
I'm very, very blessed. I'm very thankful. We've been walking long ways. We've been in water up to our waist. It's been crazy out there.
They say part of the roof at the shelter they were staying at ripped off.
It's very bad out there. We just left the shelter and it's no power. Everything's just, it's real bad.
Then we caught a glimpse of the American flag. Jordan Cohn carrying it after riding out the storm at an animal shelter with his cats and now checking on family.
I was walking here and I saw the flag on the ground and I was like, well, that's not all right. So I picked it up and then people started kind of honking.
And he made people feel much better. They need anything positive to cling to. One last good deed. The crew moved more debris, clearing the way for those trying to get back home. In all, these guys helped more than 22 people so far, and they plan to keep pushing on in days to come. In Panama City, I'm Corey Davis.
These are the best stories. Now we're starting to see the stories of the heroes really emerging there on the Florida Panhandle, doing some really incredible things. The Cajun Navy always among the first out there to be helping people in need, the people who need it the most.
Constantly risking their lives. I mean, they're going through floodwaters, dangerous conditions to bring that. And it's so wonderful to see that rather than fatalities, to see people getting to safety. I mean, that's just wonderful. A whole family there.
Yeah, kids.
Makes you feel good. Yeah.
Kids, and then I love the part. You know, just a random person just seeing an American flag on the ground, picking it up, and now people honking at him and, you know, honoring that. I mean, that's really phenomenal to see.
It's so great to see when the community comes together in situations like this. It kind of restores your faith in humanity.
Yeah,
for sure.
And one thing you really have to do is you have to listen to your leaders, your local leaders, and we want to take you back to Dothan, Alabama. Now, we caught the tail end of this press conference. It was a little bit hard to hear, but we caught the tail end of this press conference maybe about 45 minutes ago. We want to go back to it because they were giving a serious update as to the conditions in southeastern Alabama. So.
Yeah, we are talking about the Emergency Management Center. So we're going to take you there now with the latest update from them. This just happened within the last, I'd say, half an hour. Take a listen.
We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for working with us on delaying what was scheduled to be an 8 o'clock press briefing to 9 o'clock. We've had an extremely busy afternoon. Just as we anticipated, we had widespread damage throughout the city and county. So it took us a little while. One of the goals of all of the department heads and leaders that you'll get to hear from this evening was to be able to provide some hard data, some real numbers to what has occurred in our city and county. And it took us a little while to get that information together and make sure that we had good, accurate numbers for you. So thank you for putting up with us and delaying just an hour to get that information. The format of what I want to do, what we want to do today or tonight is to go through some of the numbers, take a pause and allow the expert in that field to discuss briefly kind of how their agency responded, what they responded to, or discuss the numbers. I know one of the very first things we're going to talk about is electricity and power outages throughout. And one of the reasons is Mr. Billy Mays, our public Dothan Utilities Director, has got to get out and get started with damage assessments and assisting his crews in determining exactly where we're at and where we go forward. So he will not be available for questions afterwards, but if you have some specific questions, I'll be happy to take those from you and get them to him and we can answer them. I've listed on the board for everyone the correct spellings and titles of everyone that will be speaking, so you have that if you need it. So with that being said, as we discussed in previous meetings, we were expecting widespread devastation. That's exactly what we got. All emergency services have been extremely busy all evening, still in response mode, still answering calls as we speak, both from rescuing people from homes to the not routine, but the regular calls that we respond to, structure fires, medical calls that are not necessarily related to the storms, and that's going on throughout the county. Currently, talking about our power situation, got an update just a little while ago from Wiregrass Electric. They currently have 17,500 customers without power throughout our area. They, in fact, had 5 substations that lost feed coming into the substations that supply those 17,000 customers. So that's a big part of their problem, is getting the feed back to those substations. In the city of Dothan, run through some numbers for you quickly. Out of 30,000 power customers in the city of Dothan, 24,000 of those customers are without power currently. That's somewhere between 76 and 80% of the customers that are without power currently due to outages on main lines, trees down, things in subdivisions. Our wastewater treatment plants, we currently have 3 plants that are running on generator power, but the generators are working perfectly. Everything is working just as expected, so we have no issues with that. And we have no issues in our water distribution system. Everything is going well in that system. Our Dothan Utilities had prearranged with municipal electric cities to have 4 different cities that are providing 5 crews. A crew is 6 to 8 people, and I'll let Mr. Mays explain. That includes your linemen, your groundmen, and your diggers. But we have 5 crews that will be here all by noon tomorrow. They're already pre-staged and coming from areas like Prattville and the Mobile area that are coming in. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Billy Mays real quick, let him talk a little bit of the path forward, how they conduct a damage assessment, and how they begin to restore power through the community.
Thank you. Before the storm actually came in full force, we did start assessments and we were doing repairs, and we were keeping up with it pretty well until the full run of the storm came in. At that point, it took the system down. Trees, circuits came down quickly. We tried to continue to do a little work, and once you get 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds, we're no longer able to do that. We have already started tonight assessments. So we've got crews out doing assessments, and anything that doesn't require major construction, we're going to be working on that to get those, at least some areas up. And then tomorrow we'll have full force on crews to do construction because we'll have some assessments of what's going on. You've got to have that before you actually can put your crews in the right place to do the right work. It's going to be several days, a week or so is our estimate, but we have not done the full assessment. Once I have that, I'll have better numbers to everybody and get that information to you. Just so you know that one of the reasons we had to quit, we had one of our vehicles assessment crews on Honeysuckle. They got hit with a tree, knocked it around, so you just can't have your people out when that's going on. So anyway, we'll move forward. You're going to see a lot of action tomorrow. We'll start getting a lot of work done, but everybody needs to be patient. It's going to take some time. This is a big storm. I think we were fortunate it wasn't bigger. I sure was nervous with how big the storm looked and how the impacts could have been. But we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of assessments, and it's going to take some time to get the system up. One positive, we put our new outage management system online, and it was effective. If people will continue to use their account numbers and enter outages that way, it's been an effective tool and has really helped us to pinpoint locations and actually give updates to the commission and others. And this is just an example of what it would look like as far as our system and outages. And the benefit to that is that I can provide the information, but we know where it is quickly. So bottom line is, watch for our crews. Do not touch down power lines. Stay away from them. Call us and let us know. And we're going to be working in the area, and we're going to do our due diligence to get power up just as quick as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Well, like you said, could have been a lot worse, but we'll work through these outages and get things going as quick as we possibly can. And again, the key word there is patience as we move forward and they do the assessments. Talking about moving into fire and EMS and rescue, very busy, a number of calls that both the city and county were inundated with calls for an extended period of time. We managed those calls and responded continuously throughout the storm to respond to those. Chief Williams, our fire chief from the city of Dothan, asked him to come up and talk about some of the rescues that we had to make. He's got the exact numbers of the number of responses that we made, along with rescues from homes and some of the events that took place from the fire and EMS side.
Thank you, Chief Etheridge, and thanks everybody for being here. Yes, it has been very busy. We have had, it's been an overwhelming amount of damage to our area that we're going to see as we continue to move forward into in the morning. We did have approximately, we're still answering calls, of course. We're prioritizing some calls and putting all of critical calls ahead of what we call our service calls, non-emergency type calls. We responded already to around 125 calls since the storm occurred here in the city. With that, we've made about 22 rescues from people with trees inside their homes that we had to go in and get them out. We have had some injuries. They have been transported to the local hospitals, and some of them is significant. We're continuing to just carry out that and work through the processes that we have. We won't know the full extent of what we've got until, as people are calling 911 and we get into daylight hours. One of the things we have done is we have requested through the State Emergency Management Agency, through Director Judah, that we get the Alabama Mutual Aid System dispatched to assist us with grid searches in the morning. So we have got, I believe, a company out of Prattville, Alabama coming down with a heavy rescue team, which is what we also have. And we'll be working with them going door to door through neighborhood grid searches, making sure that any damaged homes that we actually can physically make contact and make sure everybody's okay. So we'll begin doing that in the morning. We are answering those calls now as they're coming on 911, and we are doing some area searches at this time as well. But it's just going to take us a while to get all that wrapped up. I will tell you that it's been an overwhelming success working with the county and the different interagencies that we have. We have a great community, a bunch of great first responders here in our community, and we're going to be able to wrap this up hopefully and turn from a rescue mode into more of a recovery. We are still what we classify as a rescue mode, making sure that we have everybody accounted for in Dothan and Houston County. So I'll hold back for any questions in just a minute, but thank you, Chris.
Sir, thank you. Also, going through, we've got a number of roads that are closed, hundreds of trees that are down. A lot of these roads maybe do not have barricades or cones up yet. A lot of the trees that are down have not been barricaded at this point. Mr. Charles Metzger from Public Works come and talk just a little bit about the number of trees and roads that we know are closed in the city, and you can probably multiply that number for what's in the county at this point that we have not been able to identify yet, and kind of how the process works of identifying those and moving forward in the cleanup.
Thank you. Basically what we're going to be doing is trying to clear the main roads. We have hundreds of trees down, we know that. You know, some on homes, some in other areas. We're going to be working to get the major roads back open, and then working from there, we'll work into the minor streets. People are going to have to be patient with us during that process. They need to stay away from any of these trees, anything with power lines, as Mr. Mays said, and we're going to work our best to get these streets open in the next few days. We're going to be, as daylight, we'll be able to see a lot more, and like I say, if people call in, let us know what streets are closed, where the damage is. We've got a large list that we already know about. There's some even on the Ross Clark Circle. I think Main Street, Oak Street's got some. ALDOT has crews that are in now trying to work to clean those out themselves, and we'll be working through the night and then through until we get all the roads back open. We'll be moving the debris to the sides of the road to start with, and then we'll be collecting that debris and taking it to burn or remove at a later date. Thank you.
All right. And again, that will be going on through the city and the county. The next thing that we wanted to address, I'm going to do just a little different. One thing that's been burning on a lot of people and a lot of misinformation now was about the curfew. As we discussed, the curfew was implemented by the city and county earlier today for citizen safety as well as first responder safety. And now that we've got a number of trees down, power lines down, that curfew is in effect at this point, I'm going to ask Police Chief Steve Parrish from the City of Dothan Police Department to come up, talk about the curfew, and then immediately behind that, Sheriff, if you wouldn't mind addressing how people need to respond when they come to barricades and closed roads and things of that nature throughout the city and county.
Just to echo what Chief Williams said, the cooperation between the city and the county has been excellent during this event, and it goes without saying that holds true with the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department too. We've been working together. At one point in time, we had over 100 cars combined on the streets. And we still have many of our resources that are on the street now, and they will continue to be on the street until this event is concluded and power is restored. Obviously, one of the primary concerns that we have is public safety, and are the streets safe to travel? And we have decided that we would ask that the curfew remain in effect until noon tomorrow, and we would ask that everybody would respect that. We will have an assessment at first light, and that time may reduce, and the road crews have to make their assessment on the damage. The electrical crews have to make sure that the streets are safe. Unfortunately, as the sheriff will probably tell you, we have people out riding around assessing damage. We've already had a couple of accidents that we responded to from people who were riding around in the communities and trying to see all the sites. And we just ask that the public in the community respect the request that we've made, and we will have the streets open and the curfew lifted as soon as we can. Sheriff.
Well, as Chief Parrish and Chief Williams and Chris were talking earlier, the curfew was put in place mainly because of safety. It got to a point where the winds and power lines were happening so often we couldn't even get units out there, and we just don't want to add to the situation we had. So we naturally feel it's best. It's for our safety. It's for your safety. Some think it's inconvenience, but this is not the time to get out and try to go sightseeing and see what damages. Trust me, it'll still be there in a week. You'll still be able to see stuff. But I would appreciate if you could cooperate with us, help us out. If you have an emergency, let us know. If we had to more or less do a welfare check or an escort, we will. But if you can, bear with us and we'll get through this. The barricades, we don't have enough barricades to put up with all the damage we've had out on the east side. We ask you, do not go around the barricades. The ones that are there, that we had to sort of place them in areas that had more severe hazards to you driving that area than others. It could be a washed out road, it could be power lines, it could be trees. Nighttime, you see the barricade, you won't see the tree in the road past it out in the county. You're going to wind up hitting it before you realize it. So if you would, please obey these requests we have and help us get through this, and we'll all make it. We'll all get through it. It's just going to take a little time. Tomorrow we're going to be doing assessments from the air. So that's what we ask. If you will, bear with us till noon and let us do our jobs. Thanks.
Awesome. One of the things I wanted to mention, the sheriff alluded to, is the amount of damage on particularly the east side of the county. I got a message just moments before we started that we needed to get out because of the amount of damage. As you move east of Dothan, Ashford has significant impact, Pansy, Columbia, and the town of Gordon is devastated in the impact there. The town of Columbia is basically without power. They have a number of structures that have been damaged, and they have asked that there's no entry to the city of Columbia, the town of Columbia, except for emergency workers. So Columbia, for intents and purposes, is closed at this point until they're able to do their damage assessments and render the area safe. We've talked a lot about the coordinating effort and what it takes to put an operation of this size together. You heard hundreds of 100 police officers at a time out on the streets, hundreds of fire and EMS, whether they're volunteer or paid, out on the streets. That all is coordinated through this agency, Dothan Houston County EMA. And I know everybody has praised folks and talked about how coordinated it is, but I would ask Director Judah to come up and just briefly talk about his team and the team of ESF, Emergency Support Function personnel that have been here, some since midnight last night, most since 8 o'clock this morning when we kicked off and officially went to full staffing. But the leadership that we've had here and the teamwork that's gone into making this happen is paramount, and I think he would like to just say thank you to everyone and make a couple of comments.
Thank you. Absolutely. We want to thank everyone that's been involved in this operation. It has been about teamwork and communication, and the city of Dothan and Houston County have come together as one team, as they have several times. This was a major operation that turned out very well. Those teams include you, the media. You've done a great job getting information out for us, and we want to thank you for that too. We're very happy that the storm was not as bad as it was. We do have a lot of damage to assess and aftermath to deal with. So these teams will continue to work throughout days and nights for the next few days. So I want to thank everybody for that. The Dothan Fire Department, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, and all of those involved. So thank you. Thank you.
All right, the next part is moving a little more from response and rescue mode into recovery mode. How we move forward to getting businesses back in operation, getting back to some sense of normalcy. And so our Mayor of the City of Dothan, Mark Saliba, Chairman of the Houston County Commission, Mark Culver, are going to, I believe, speak together and talk to that fact about how we move forward and what we're doing to achieve that.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. First wanted to express our care and concern for those on the Florida coastline. They're our neighbors, and the pictures and the reports that are coming out of there are devastating. And we just want you to know, we want them to know that our thoughts and our prayers are with y'all. Here in Dothan, we have experienced a unprecedented catastrophic event, and we need to keep that into that proper perspective. I know that we have heard the numbers earlier from everyone, and I'm appreciative of that. I can tell you that I have been a part of and seen many meetings over the last couple of days, and I believe that the departments that we have in both the city and the county, EMA, all of those that have been involved are a model of cooperation, and I'm very proud of what they have accomplished and what they have done. I would like also to express the fact that I've spoken with Governor Ivy's office, and they've been very helpful. Congressman Martha Roby's office had lent a hand as well. And so we have had a lot of people that have been reaching out to us. But now the work begins, and this is the part where we as a community will need to come together, from the Red Cross, who's been very vital, to all of 211 and David Duke and what he's accomplished and what they're going to accomplish, all of our faith-based entities that are out there. This is where we pull together as a community. And I know Dothan in the Wiregrass, and I know we'll do just that. Now, it'll take weeks, maybe longer, to accomplish that. But I think that we're headed in the right direction. And so I want to give Chairman Culper an opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to echo his thoughts about our friends in the Panhandle. Many of us in Houston County and many people in Houston County have not only friends and associates, but have investment down there. So from what I've seen, I don't think Panama City and the coast is the same tonight as it was last night or will ever be again. So I ask you to keep those people, not only those people that live down there, but those of us that are citizens here that are investors down there in your thoughts and prayers, because it is going to be a different world down there. Also echo what everybody said about working together. We do that particularly in these type of situations when our fellow man's lives are at stake. We come together as a community and really put our best foot forward. We've always done that. We have some of the greatest volunteer organizations that work closely with Chris and the city and the county that, you know, we stand up here and tell you about how great everything works, but it's really all those folks that make that